Welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We're going to kick off with what we've been playing. I originally, when I sat down, I didn't think I had played a lot in the last 2 weeks, but looking at it, I have more than I thought. So, obviously, and I'll talk about this first. I have not played very much of it, because today is literally the release day. But I have played about an hour and a half of Infinite Wealth. I kind of figured this was going to be the point going into the game. Like, it is, obviously, it's a direct sequel to Like a Dragon. And I couldn't imagine anybody who hasn't played that game would just jump into this, but it would be impossible. Like, you would have no idea what's going on. I mean,
especially, like, most of the characters are returning. Like,
everybody is back. I won't spoil very much of it, but I will say the way the game opens, where your buddy Ichiban it's 3 years after the events of the last game.
Okay.
And he just works for that Hello Workplace.
Okay.
And his whole mission is, because at the end of that game, remember, they kind of took down those two big Yakuza families. Yeah. So his whole mission now is he is helping other former Yakuza try to get jobs and like turn over a new leaf. Like, that's what he's all about.
Yeah. Okay.
So like the first part of that, the first like 20, 30 minutes of that game is like you specifically dealing with one guy that comes in that really, really wants a job, but he's a former Yakuza. And like, obviously Ichiban can immediately read like, no, this dude is not ready. They go out, they have like a big scuffle about it and everything. And then he finally kind of reveals like, the guy comes in, he gets really pissed off because he won't give him a job. And then he meets him on the street, tries to give him money. And he's like, dude, I don't want money. Like, you need to realize you need to turn over a new leaf, kind of a situation. They have a fight. That's the first time you have any combat in the game. Mm-hmm. And then the guy kind of realizes, and that's where you get the backstory of like what he's doing. All the characters are back. Namba, Adachi. It's funny the way they introduce Adachi in this game and what he's doing currently, because he takes that Yakuza guy and he comes back after he makes the guy turn a new leaf. It's like, come back tomorrow, I'll get you a job. Guy comes back, he sits down, he goes, so what do you have? Where he's like, how do you feel about shoplifting? And you're like, what? Like, huh? And so he has that guy work with Adachi, who's working like a security firm place that he started. And he has that guy go around shoplifting different businesses to try and find like what the holes in their security.
Okay.
Essentially. Yeah, first when he said that, I'm like, what? Huh? Like, that's a little weird. So, but yeah, like, they reintroduced all those characters, Namba, Adachi, Psycho. All amazing to have those characters back. That's all I'll say about the story so far, because it does get into something that I don't want to spoil.
Those games typically have like a build-up. Like, there's typically hours of like
you do not start the game in Hawaii.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm sure I'll get there. I will say after a little bit I played, because it starts 3 years after the event of this one. Then you play a little bit, something happens, it jumps ahead another year. So where I am now, and I assume we're going to get to the point where he heads to Hawaii. So, but I will say the combat's more improved. You can move around a lot more during combat, which is cool.
That's definitely cool.
There's this cool kind of like combo system too now. I don't think if there was in the original game or the previous one, I don't remember, but like they'll do a thing now where like if you hit somebody and it goes close to the other character, they'll do a combo move with you just automatically.
There's something.
Was that in the last game too?
It's very basic where like they'll get follow-up attacks, or if you hit them into someone, they'll get hit. Okay. Pressure damage, but it was never like on purpose. Yeah.
Okay. This seems a lot more like in tune. Like they've definitely like overhauled the combat, but in a good way. So, but yeah, that's about. I'm like 90 minutes into it, and I mean, everything I played is fantastic.
I really want to play it, but like, I just did Lost Judgment and then Like a Dragon back to back.
The thing I thought today when I started it was
in a month, and it's just like, this is not the time.
The thing I thought when I started it today was, man, if I had just came off the last one, I would not be ready to jump into it.
I just checked my time on that one like yesterday for some other reason, and it's at like 140 hours. Mm-hmm. And I still have the very final like tower to do. Yeah. Which I thought I was geared up for it. I went in there. The first fight took me like 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh shit,
no,
dude.
I don't feel like
I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet.
No. So, but yeah, I'll have a lot more to say the next time we record on that game specifically, because it literally just came out. After last week talking about the comfort food games, I decided, fuck it, I want to play Mass Effect 1.
God, I almost started it too. Almost.
Originally, I re-downloaded it on the Xbox. I got all set, and I was like, I'll do an Insanity run. And then I just did not. Like, when it got to the time where I loaded up, I was like, man, I don't feel like doing an Insanity run right now. And then I was like, well, I still kind of want to get like achievements, but I've done everything here. So I remembered that they gave that game out on Plus a while ago.
Yeah. That's why I did it, 'cause it was sitting in my library.
So I ended up moving over to the PlayStation, downloading it there, and I ran through. I'm on my second run of the first game now. And the only reason I'm doing a second run is because I missed. So the way the trophies are broken down for that game, it's like there's a set for each game. So 1, 2, and 3. And then there's this like weird extra set that has like your insanity runs. It has all the relationship trophies. They're all separate for some reason, then baked into each game. So if you wanted to potentially get the platinum for Mass Effect 1, it is insanely easy. You can do it in one run if you really want to. I would have had it, but I screwed up that Codex achievement. So I have to go back to it. Because there's one part in that game in the very beginning where you talk to that Nihilist guy at the beginning to get the Prothean Codex.
Oh,
and if you do not ask a specific dialogue, you'll never get it.
Yeah, so, I remember that.
And I didn't realize that until I was toward the end of the game. I was like, well, fuck. So I'm like midway through a second playthrough of it. But again, it's at this point, that's the best way to play that game. So like if you want to play Mass Effect 1. And I figured what I'm going to do is in between these games, if I have time, I'll do 2 next. Next game will come out. I'll play that. Then I'll go and I'll do 3. So, yeah. But I had a lot of fun playing that. I mean, Mass Effect 1 is just a great game. So still my favorite of the 3.
Mine too. Everybody's always like, oh, 2 and 3. It's like 1. I just like 1 because it's an RPG.
It is. It's just straight up RPG where like 2 and 3 are just shooters with light RPG.
I had fun with those games, especially like when we would play the multiplayer stuff.
The 3 multiplayer is good. I wish they would have brought it back for the
that would all they would have had to do was just bring like that part. But I mean, we had a lot of fun with that.
A lot of that multiplayer.
We played a lot of that.
A lot. It's just a horde, man. But it was really well done. Then I decided because we had that Xbox Developer Direct, which we'll talk about in news, and they showed a lot of that Avowed game. I'd forgotten that game takes place in that Pillars of Eternity universe. So I decided I wanted to play that. I went to play the second one. So those games are on Game Pass, but only for console. Okay. And they're not good console games because of how they work. You know, it's a point click.
A different kind of game. Yeah.
So I wanted to play it on PC, and just for the fun of it, I'd put both of them on my wish list. Very next day, Pillars of Eternity 2 went to like $10, and I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. So I bought it, and I started a character. Pillars of Eternity 2 is really cool because it's a pirate game. Kind of like, remember Risen? Yeah. Remember that Risen? Yeah, it's like that. It's a pirate. It's pretty cool. I played like maybe an hour of it, but I've enjoyed what I've played of that. And also, if you have a Steam Deck, it works really well, like with the touchpad controls. It actually works really well. So that's kind of how I'll probably play through that. Then on a whim, our friend, former co-host of the show, Eric, recommended me to look at this game called Contraband Police. I don't know if you've heard of this. I don't know if you know anything about it.
No.
I didn't know anything about it. He started texting me about it. You are basically Russian border patrol. So it's on Steam. So you can approve or deny people. You get to look through their cargo, see if they're trying to sneak anything
like a video of this. Yeah.
It is fucking great.
Is that the one where like
really,
there's like people that'll be wanted and you can like check the board and come back out? Yeah, yes. I saw a video of some guy doing
people run away, you can fucking shoot them. Like, it's insane. Really good. It's on sale right now. It's $15.
Oh yeah.
So definitely worth it. I've only played through the tutorial, but it's a lot of fun. Very good. I don't think it's on consoles. I think it's only on Steam, but it's one of those games where, like, if you think about it, probably really only can be on Steam because of its subject matter.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. And then the last thing that I've played, Matt, you've played a little bit of it too, is, of course, the hot game that has taken the world by storm, which is palworld, or as I would call it, copyright infringement, the game.
Hey, copyright inspired the game.
There you go.
Holy shit! So I didn't watch really. I watched one trailer because I put it on one day, and my girlfriend happened to be watching the TV, and she went by and first asked what Pokemon game it was, and I explained to her, and then she just said, "But this just seems like they literally are just ripping Pokemon off." I'm like, no, it looks like that's what's going on. It is so much like there's so much copyright shit going on in this game. It is insane. So when you create your character, so I dived in, I played a half hour, created my character. When you load up in the world is like they took Breath of the Wild's world all the way straight down to you wake up into a similar cavern thing like Breath of the Wild. It plays, I kid you not, the same little like notification chime from that game when you wake up, and I'm just like, what is happening? It's like somebody took an AI generator and threw Pokemon, Fortnite, Breath of the Wild, and Minecraft into it and said, what can I get? And this is what you got. I don't know. Like, I played a half hour of it. I don't know if I care. I like you capture Pokemon. I guess, can you shoot guns at some point? I guess I didn't even get that far. So okay.
From what I've seen, you can shoot guns and stuff like that.
I've just seen people run around with Pokemon and guns. So, and people seem to be real into that. But for me, it's like copyright infringement of the game. So I don't know. I didn't really dig it that much. It's on game, and the only reason I even did is because so many people were talking about it, and then I was like, it's on Game Pass. And I know the Game Pass version is not as up to date as Steam apparently, but I just wanted to see what it was all about. So. And I'd say that half hour gave me my answer. So I don't know if I would go back to it. I'm more curious to watch the battle between Nintendo and this game now, which we'll talk about when we get into the news. But this is a situation where I look at the game first. Like, normally I'd be for the little guy and be like, yeah, no, they should fight this. But this is a situation where I'm like, no, Nintendo probably has a right to be upset here. Like, when you look at everything, like, they have a reason to be mad. So, but yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for me. I will have a lot more to talk about with Infinite Wealth next recording because that'll be my big game. So I'll kick it over to you, Dan. What you've been playing?
Yeah, so I did actually get my Tekken 8 today, which small miracle because you never know especially with GameStop shipping how that's going to work.
You got it from the GameStop, so like you still had it.
Yeah. Okay. Because it actually didn't even ship until it shipped yesterday morning.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, maybe tomorrow. So I actually did get it like with my normal mail. Godspeed. I did the install and the update took forever because it's
PlayStation.
It's a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
But so I've only played about an hour or so of it. It looks incredible. It is hard to explain like how good this game looks like in motion. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's a Tekken game, right?
Yeah.
So that's nothing like overly special, but like Tekken games are great and they play great. And I haven't even touched like the story mode or really any of the other modes. I kind of just did like arcade stuff just to kind of get back into it. But it's so good. Like it, there's still the thing where we still can't quite get hair right on. Really anyone in any game, hair is never.
That's probably every game.
Right.
Though,
yeah, that's the one thing that still kind of irks me in these things is like
hair and eyeballs.
Faces for the most part look right, and like we can do hands and feet and like complex motions that these characters do in these games, in these fighting games.
But that hair.
flips and spins and stuff. But hair is always going to be the one thing that lags behind, which maybe we'll get there someday. But I'm looking forward to playing a lot more of it. I'll probably play more of it tonight when we're done, and this weekend and all next week, because really I have a month to kill till Rebirth. Yeah,
so exactly.
I'm trying not to start anything too big. The other things I did, like I went back and I'm doing the Stranger of Paradise DLCs because I finally got the season pass on sale for like $10 or whatever it was, or $8.
Probably the right price.
Yeah, I don't need to pay full price for that, because really all it does is add jobs and like a higher difficulty level to missions that really kind of already existed. It does serve as like an epilogue to the game too, because long ago when we talked about it, at the end of that game is, spoilers for it, but you are Garland. You're the bad guy from the first game. And then like it opens with like the Warrior of Light, like showing up. So the first thing you do is you fight him. Right. And in the DLC, but you can't lose that fight because he's not strong enough yet.
Yeah.
But then you have to get stronger for like a rematch for him where he becomes a lot more deadly. And but it adds stuff like summoning, and so you can get Bahamut as a summon, other kind of jobs, and it's just more of the same. Like it's I remind myself that it is a good game. Like gameplay wise, it does play well. It has a pretty like good difficulty spike to it. It can get hard. You will die. That being said, if you want to just blaze through the game on trophies, there's an exploit you can use, which basically makes you pretty much unkillable.
Oh wow!
Because you can basically cast a thing called Mighty Guard, which will never let you die. Like the lowest you can go is 1 HP, as long as you have MP left. But you can play in a special mode in the game called Extra Mode, where you never run out of MP. So as long as you have this thing active, you can't die. Yeah. Occasionally, a boss will have an ability that takes away like a positive buff. So if you get hit again, you'll die, but you can turn it back on. So it's kind of funny because I just want the trophies, so I'm kind of just blazing through it. I did play it with a friend of mine, and the downside to that,
you guys co-op, right?
It does. The whole game does, and just you each play as basically your build in someone's game.
Guy.
Yeah. The only downside to the co-op mode is you can't do the exploit because the extra mode thing doesn't exist. But for the second DLC, which is coming up, you can't use that mode for like the last third of it. So having another person with will help because it's basically like the grind. So I'm trying to finish that up again before Rebirth is done. I've played more Dead Island.
Sorry.
Yeah, like you know what? We've talked about it last time. We've talked about it a lot before, but as someone who never really got past the first act, like we're still in the second act. And this game, it just drags.
It drags so long time.
It's so boring. Because and the thing is even with multiple people, even when you know what you're doing, you die. You just die all the time because the game is built in such a way where you'll get swarmed. Like the big guy will show up, it'll hit you once, and then you're knocked down and you die. But the only penalty is you lose money. And money is kind of pointless in that game other than repairing your current stuff. Yeah. But your stuff breaks so fast that it's just like constantly switching weapons out. It's an annoying game, and it reminds me, it really feels like a game that was made 12 years ago because it's just bad game design, but was a zombie game. So everybody got hooked on it.
Of course.
We'll finish it, but like, man, I'm not looking forward to the last two parts of this. We're only halfway. Or not, I think more than halfway, because I think supposedly like the last act is like, that's it.
You get ready for Dead Island 2.
Riptide first, and then
that's right. Yeah.
So that's in there. I finished the Sherlock Holmes game I've been working on. I platinumed that. Those are just, I like Sherlock Holmes games. Like they're fun to just kind of mess around and play through. If you want to get all the trophies, you really need a guide because there's a lot of weird stuff you can miss. But finish that up. Those are fine. I've got the next one I might start because those games go cheap on PlayStation. They go down
they go cheap.
They go like 90% off.
Yeah.
And like this is, and sometimes they're like 90% off with the DLC.
Aren't they aren't they like THQ Nordic titles now?
No, they're independently published now because they went through some kind of weird like licensing rights thing where they got pulled. They actually all got pulled from the store and then put back up 2 days later under their own publishing label.
Interesting.
So because they basically got it's Frogwares, so they got their licensing back. So I might jump into the next one just because those are things you can do in little bursts because it's just like case by case kind of a thing. And then the only other thing I played just to mess around in was, remember when they re-released Gauntlet? Like,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was it the one that we all played
8 years ago?
Like, yeah.
I've been messing around in that. Like, I don't know. Like, it's fine.
It's okay. Yeah.
It kind of sucks, but it's
kind of like a poor man's Diablo in a sense. Is the route they try to take it.
It's level based, but they tried to make it, it still is Gauntlet at the core, but it's.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's nothing special. It might be one of those things where if I'm bored and I want something that's really mindless, I might do that and just run around because the point of that game is just to play it over and over and over again. But
for sure,
I mean that was pretty much all I played. It's I'm just kicking tires until next month.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you, Matt?
So as you were talking about, I jumped into palworld too. I wasn't really thinking about it like a Pokemon game though.
Okay.
Until like I jumped into it, the picture and like the like snippets I saw honestly kind of reminded me of a Digimon game because like I saw the yellow dude with the big hands and I was like, this isn't a Digimon game. I was like, what's up with this? But then when
it's weird. It is weird because it does give off more of those vibes than a Pokemon game does. So just as someone who's watched it.
So the only thing that really turned me off that it was like a Pokemon was when you wake up and those 3 starter dudes are like staring you over.
Like over you.
And I was like, okay, this is a little strange. I mean, I've been seeing a lot about it. I'm gonna try to dive into it more just to kind of see like what you can get because like I just got the idea of like the whole building stuff. And like trying to set up a camp and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to push through for, I don't know, maybe like a couple more hours to see like how much of it opens up more.
Sure.
Before like Nintendo shuts it down. But all in all, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I know a lot of people are having fun with it.
It was a good get for Game Pass to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's crazy. That thing blew up. So... And we'll talk about it more in the news, but it's a good gift for them.
So I'm into that. I decided to download Super Mega Baseball 4.
Okay. It's on Game Pass. Right?
It's quirky. I mean, it's a baseball game.
I played the older ones.
You played the older ones.
I played the older ones. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nothing crazy.
For a while, that was Xbox's only baseball.
Yeah.
Until the show came over.
So, I mean, I played a couple of exhibition matches on it. It's nothing crazy. The animations as to like when you strike people out are pretty funny. So, I mean, it's not bad. Yeah, if you got a hankering for a little quirky baseball game, it's fun. I then AEW Fight Forever was free this past weekend, and that was bad. That's just.
You share the same sentiments on it that we did.
Yeah, it's just
so I don't understand the point. So the one thing that really got me was that everybody, they have those like mini entrances, which is okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like you can blow off fireworks and smoke and like cause craziness behind like during the entrance, but because the vision is so short, you don't get to really see anything. So it's like, what's the point in doing that? And then the only other thing that really got me is, I mean, the gameplay was kind of dull. I was excited about the barbed wire death match because I was like, all right, that's a really cool idea. Let me see how it executes.
That's something that's not in WWE.
Dude, every time, like Darby Allin was just like literally touching me to the barbed wire and I was just exploding. And I was like, this is too much. This is too much to deal with. And then I didn't realize until like probably like 2 hours into just playing random matches, there's no commentary. Like nobody's talking.
Yeah, there's no commentary, which is also really weird.
But there's commentary during the load scenes.
There's commentary during the load scenes, and it's
which really didn't make any sense. Yeah, it's a very strange choice. I also don't like the fact that Aubrey Edwards is the only referee that's in that game because I'm just not a big fan of her. All in all,
I think there was one other referee you could swap out. Maybe
I don't know. There's not an option.
Yeah, is what I was. There's
every match I played, it was her. But I will say, I mean, like I told a friend of mine, if it's $10 and you're just hankering for some old school No Mercy type gameplay, then definitely go ahead and grab it. But not at the price tag it's sitting at. It's really not
normal, like 40.
Well, and it's just in a weird like space because they're not making another one right away.
Yeah.
Like this is meant to last, but the roster is out of date. Like already, it is wildly out of date. You would think that they would at least try to make like a roster patch and, maybe leave the old people in there and just move them to a new section where it says like alumni or something.
Yeah.
Fix the rest of it. But like they're already missing a bunch of people. Like they're missing gimmicks. They're missing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Like they just released Toni Storm in the game and her gimmick is completely different from what it is now.
It's not who she is.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So, yeah, like I said, if you got $10 and it's ever on a really big discount, definitely pull the trigger, but it's not worth the price tag it's at now, right?
Not the $40-$50.
Not at all, man. It's not worth it.
I actually installed 2K23 and with the intent to play it, and then I just lost myself in Mass Effect. So.
Hey, man, sometimes you get lost. And the only other thing I was playing is Arcade Paradise. I kind of got back into laundry, and I've been doing laundry in real life, so I had to do laundry on video games too.
Have you lost any of those laundry machines? Like expanded more? Or?
No, I am still like I haven't expanded anymore yet. I'm still just like earning income to get to like the more machines and stuff like that. So it's just been like days of just laundry and like cleaning trash and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just really peaceful.
It's addicting.
Like, it is super addicting and it's super peaceful and so I mean, I'm down. I'm gonna keep riding this ride out, but that's all I've been into this week.
Well, we can move over to news. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this one, but I put it in here more because I think it's comical. But the GameStop NFT marketplace is closing after 18 months. What a shocker!
Who could have predicted that?
Who could have predicted that? This
like they always do, they jump into a fad way too late, run it into the ground, forget about it, and then eventually get rid of it.
I was more amazed when I read the headline that it had been open for 18 months.
I think the last time we even like talked about it was when they were doing those controversial ones. Putting up then like the 9/11 one and stuff like that. I never heard anything else about it except for there's something a couple months ago about like the wallet being moved or something like that. But I mean, crypto boomed when GameStop stock boomed. And they used that as an excuse to get into it.
They did.
And then didn't have the foresight to realize that maybe this isn't going to last. And it didn't.
Exactly. We actually have another article we'll get to later in the news on this subject as well. But UK's biggest video game retailer, which is that Game Store, is going to be stopping all physical game trade-ins in 2024 at some point. That's a huge that would be the equivalent of GameStop over here doing that. So
that's weird too, because at least over here, that's the business model.
Yeah,
it's collectibles now too, but
that is still
always the business model. That was the step one of the circle of life was getting people to trade shit into us.
Yeah,
so that we could sell it. That's wild.
It's just another step towards the end of physical media. So,
but that's so weird though, because that means they're not taking back anything.
It means you're not taking back retro stuff. I don't know if they were, to be fair. I would assume so, but
maybe not all the way back. But it's I don't know. That's so weird.
It just seems like a decision that's being made too soon, unless you were going to be closing that business.
Yeah, unless this is step one, right?
Yeah. Because, like, if I heard that over here from GameStop, my first assumption would be, okay,
they're closing.
The days are coming real soon.
Because that means they're actively not trying to keep inventory.
Exactly. So, more rumors, of course, are now flying that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to finally come to Xbox. At this point, I mean, if it's going to, I can see it now. Within, the release time of Rebirth, I could see it happening. So there's no reason for it not to at this point, right?
At this point, A, it's been long enough. B, they're on the second game, which won't come to Xbox right away.
No.
There is precedence for that. Remember when they did that thing where, like, we finally got all the Final Fantasy games, and they rolled them out, and it was just like they'd already been on PlayStation for years.
When they originally announced that, and then they took forever to put them up, and they put them up in, like, this stupid staggered release. Yeah. And then they took them all down within 12 months or
a very bad
most
job of how that was handled.
Yeah, it just was very shitty. I thought this was weird. Ahead of the developer direct, this was not a game at it. Stalker 2, obviously long in development. Certain reasons why it was long in development, but that actually has a concrete release date now, September 5th. So that game's going to finally release, hopefully. It looks great. Like the new trailer they put out. Like, as someone who never got to play the original Stalker, and I know it's kind of a pain to get that game to run on a modern computer now, I'm excited to play this new one because it looks interesting. To me, it kind of looks like those Metro games without the bullshit.
Yeah,
like the jank. Because like those Metro games are cool, but they were way too janky for my taste. So even though I made it through both of them, but this looks like that without that, which is what I would be interested in. So, but I'm happy to see that they finally got a release date. So, I honestly didn't even realize this because I haven't loaded up Rock Band 4 probably within a year, but Rock Band 4 is finally going to end DLC. I think today was the day, actually. The day today that we're recording, that this was the last day they put out DLC for the game. So they've been actively putting out DLC. It wasn't every week. It was like maybe 2 a month.
The fact that they even still were is crazy.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
No, and the thing that's fun is like the last couple times I've gone back and got into like, okay, I'll play, and got back into it for a couple weeks, I would always pick up newer songs. Like, they put good stuff in it. So, and obviously it carried over, if you bought it for the right system that you had previously, you got to carry all your stuff over. So, but
I'm surprised they never tried to work it into a way where it's like AI generates the charts for songs and you could like rip a song or something. Like they
did a little bit of that.
I know that they tried.
Rock Band 3 and the Rock Band Network.
But you feel like you would feel like that would easily exist now.
And the other thing I'll say with that is a lot of the DLC for a while they were putting into this game was just Rock Band Network songs because they already have those. So a lot easier for them to re-up those licenses. Because all those network songs did not carry over. That was the one thing that did. Besides the Beatles, that was the one thing that did carry over. So,
well, hey man, they got to focus on their Fortnite content, right?
That's what it says.
That's what it is now. They're just a Fortnite company.
Yeah. Payday 3 developers are well aware fans are not satisfied. They've created a dedicated team to turning things around on the game. That game, I'm both shocked but also not shocked at the same time that game came out as a shit show disaster. I've known for a while that the console ports of Payday 2 that came to Xbox One and PS4 were also bad compared to the PC version. So I'm not surprised that this is a shit show.
I mean, but like, how much longer are people even going to care or pay attention to
this? People care right now? If I were to look up the Steam numbers, I can't imagine it's that high.
It's got to be bad, right?
So it has to be.
If palworld's at 2 million, Payday's at 2.
Like, as in 2 people.
2 people. And that's because they forgot to log out.
Now we'll get to one of the biggest things that happened. Obviously, the Xbox Developer Direct happened. We got our reveals. We got a solid release date for Hellblade 2, which is May 21st. That was also in the news a lot because that game is not getting a physical version, but like it's a Game Pass game, so how many people are actually going to buy that game? It's only on one
not
platform.
Many. Yeah,
not at all.
It's not coming to PlayStation. So I didn't get that. I get it, but I also don't get the hatred on that being where the platform is. If it was coming out on PlayStation and other places, I could understand it a little more. Obsidian kind of I wouldn't say it was that big of a deep dive, but they did show a lot more of Avowed, which I think continues to look great. I'm really looking forward to that game. I was bummed that they just kind of gave a generic fall 2024. I was kind of hoping it'd be a little sooner.
Could mean anything too. Like
that could be September.
I really got you know what game I really got like a feel of like obviously it's a New Vegas game, but it really looked and felt like the Outer Worlds.
It feels like fantasy Outer Worlds mixed with Oblivion,
which is good. I mean, I like Outer Worlds a lot.
And I would assume when this finally comes out, then the worlds will be the next thing.
Oh, I want an Outer Worlds too for sure.
There's this other game, Era History Untold. I'm not really going to go into that. It looks
awesome.
Okay.
It looks awesome for what it is, but it is a PC Civilization style game. Which I'll never
play very good on console.
It would never play well on console, so they can't put it on there.
So there was rumors, obviously, before the show that there was going to be a surprise game, and people were, trying to figure out what it is. I don't think anyone would have ever guessed.
I never would have guessed that. No.
Which it was just a very, very big. I'd say they spent 20 minutes.
They did a lot.
Visions of Man.
Yeah, they did a lot.
That game looks great.
It does, but as a Square person and a Mana person, I kind of already know what that game is anyway. You know what I mean? It's not that game isn't. It's a surprise that it's in this direct thing, but the game itself is not a surprise to me. Yeah, and gotcha. The Mana series has always been I don't even want to say little brother's Final Fantasy. It's even lower than that.
It's lower.
It's a third tier thing, and a lot of people have reverence for Secret of Mana on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But how many people could tell you that there's actually fucking 12 Mana?
Legend of Mana. Yeah,
there's tons of them. I have, Sword of Mana for Game Boy Advance, Child of Mana. There's a ton of these.
This seems like the first time in a while where they really care about making a new one.
There seems like they're putting a lot of effort into it, for sure. It's the first one that'll be on Xbox. That's cool too, I guess. But, I
think it was here more to show that they've really kind of recaptured their working relationship with Square.
Yes. I mean, obviously they've made Final Fantasy 14 is the biggest thing they could have done, and they did.
And that's soon too, I think, when that's coming out.
It's supposed to be around the expansion, I thought, isn't it? Yeah, which is in a couple months.
Yeah. So, and then obviously we got the big reveal that everybody was waiting for.
Me specifically.
Indiana Jones. Yeah. Here's the thing I'll say, after this reveal, after this developer direct in general, there really wasn't a lot, much negativity.
It was overall,
for the first time in a while. It was very positive, overall, which was nice to see. Because usually people just shit over anything that's Xbox, but this direct, not really.
It was a very good direct.
Indiana Jones looks amazing.
I told you afterwards, I think it looks perfect.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is it's not third person, which is a good move because it needs to be different from Uncharted and Tomb Raider.
Well, that's reason one, but then reason two is this is a company that makes first person games.
It's a company that makes Wolfenstein games.
Yeah,
so they know how to kill Nazis very well
in first person.
You're going to be whipping and punching and shooting with Indiana Jones.
Solving puzzles. I love the fact that they said
the puzzle solving looks really good.
A lot of puzzles are just optional. They're just off if you want to do them, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right? I think it looks great. And I think that my funnest reaction I told you was, I don't know who they got to voice him, but man, he sounds good. And then, of course, at the end of it, it's just the only guy who works in the industry got this job too.
Yeah.
To his credit, he does a great job of sounding like him.
He does, but when I went back and now that I know, and you go back and watch her, you can hear that it's Troy Baker.
I was talking to a friend of mine, I find this it's fine, but I find this annoying. Why are there only 7 people that work in the voice industry?
I know.
It's the same. Oh, is it a woman? It's probably Laura Bailey. Right?
Yeah.
Not to say that she's not good at her job. But is there no one else? There's no one else. Like the Indiana Jones job was literally like, we need someone who can kind of sound like a young Harrison Ford. You couldn't find anyone? No, we'll just do Troy Baker. We'll pay him 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times what we have to pay anyone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
What? I get that you have the budget. It's a Microsoft-backed machine games game.
Exactly.
Which is essentially Todd Howard's game. Where he's like, I created it. I'm doing it. Okay, cool. But yeah, that the voice acting thing, like, I'll get over it. I won't care in the long run. But is there no one else? There's no one else.
There's no one else, man.
There's no one else.
It's weird. Also, like the confirmation of the title, The Great Circle. That's a terrible name. That's
like, I don't mind the premise. It's fine.
Premise is fine.
In the game,
there's
but
another
the title
name
is
to be
terrible.
had. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have come up with a better name. I think that right now that I'm just happy coming out of it that right now that is my biggest complaint about it.
Yes.
It's just the title is terrible.
Yes. I think it looks great. I think it sounds
incredible.
Great. The only thing is I think the whip animations don't look super
a little
good.
janky.
They look a little janky, but there's time.
Fine.
We got plenty of time for that.
And it's a 2024 game.
I'm very excited to play an Indiana Jones game. And like I was just watching something else after where they were like, does this game have reverence with anyone? Of course it does.
It's Indiana Jones.
People were born in the 80s, yes.
Even I saw after this, even the people that hated that new movie are excited about this game.
Right. Well, it takes place at the perfect time. It
does.
Between Raiders and Crusade. That's where, if you want to make an Indiana Jones game, they're all going to go in here. Because they're not going to go before Temple, and they're not going to go between Temple and Raiders. They're all going to go here. You can maybe do some like after Crusade, before Crystal Skull. That's fine. There's room there. But
this makes sense for
this is the best
starting
place.
a new franchise, potentially.
And I hope we just get, well, the thing is I think they're worried about continuity with like the movies and stuff. I think that's okay to worry about with like this game, but I think you can throw it out the window at that point. But I told you, what was the craziest thing in that trailer? Fucking Brody is in this.
Oh
game.
Yeah. That was crazy.
That was awesome.
They
thought enough to care to put him in it. Was cool.
Yeah. Maybe, do you think Sal is in the game too?
I mean, he's got to be, right? It's got to be. He's got to show up to like a level.
They can't show it all in the first trailer.
No, and don't ruin it. And like, could Marion show up? She could.
She could, but it kind of seems like they've created their own female character.
And I think maybe you save that for another game.
That's probably wise.
So I think it's cool. Like I'm actually like we've been talking about it for a while. Like I've been hyped for it before they showed this. And this is everything I wanted it to be.
You wanted it, yeah. In that trailer, they showed like very brief shot. There is on a whiteboard somewhere written the words Quake 6, so that has kids excited.
Well, of course,
that they're probably making. To be fair, Quake 6 has been rumored for a while. Could they be making that in the background? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a different kind of game. Yeah.
Is it called Quake 6? Fucking no. There's no way.
Quake Torment. Quake.
We already mentioned it. Hellblade 2 is a digital only game. I don't think that's that big of a deal. So.
It's just it's fitting what's happening,
which we'll get to in a little bit here. I thought this was interesting. There is going to be a PS5 remaster. It's also going to come to PC of Until Dawn very soon.
Sure.
They're making a movie out of that.
Yeah.
So I guess this makes sense to do that.
This is pretty solid game.
I don't know if Until Dawn was a really good game, but if you go back to that today, like that game had a lot of performance issues.
Oh, for sure. Well, I remember
could easily be ironed out.
It was a move game to start.
Remember
that?
They had to build around that.
And they changed it like mid development, and who knows how much they had to keep or change. But I think if you remaster that, for current stuff and maybe add extra content, I think that game people will buy it again.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but the main head honchos behind the day before are just out there talking more dumb shit.
They're losing their minds out there.
A hate campaign for that game or something like. There was nothing but a hype campaign for that game for some reason.
Then they built that.
But we'll talk about the biggest hot button thing of this week. I think bigger than indie at this point, which is palworld, which is destroying the industry. It's now sold. I think the last I saw as of today, it has sold 8 million.
It was over 8. The last number I saw.
I obviously now it's sold enough copies that now Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are looking into investigating it for.
So I didn't want to get into it before when you guys were talking about like having played it and stuff.
You want to talk about it now?
I want to talk about it now
because it's time to talk about it.
People are it's copyright infringement, like they copy blah blah blah. Nintendo does not own the monster battling genre. Like they don't.
No, they don't.
And like you said before, this is a mixture of 4 different games. It was bound to happen. Like I'm sure there are other games that are even more clones of all of those games you mentioned before that just never got attention or anything.
For sure.
Like unless you can look at the game and go, this specific PAL looks exactly like a Pokemon, they really don't have much to talk about. Matt brought it up earlier. It reminds him of Digimon. Gee, what are the Digimon games? You walk around and you capture things and you make them fight each other. Like
Pokemon.
Yes, we're talking about like this is a genre of game. Yeah. Think about like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley. Like aren't those all the same? They're all the same, but they have little tweaks and differences of stuff you can do. But at the base of it, look at Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons. At one point were the same fucking game, and now there's 2 of them from 2 different companies, but they're exactly the same.
Yeah,
like those games share more in common than Pokemon and palworld do. Like, and like I think the only reason Nintendo is, I don't know that they could get anything out of it. I think at best what they could do is they could go to them and be like, we've identified 6 characters in this game that look too close to things we have.
And they can also shut down all the mods, which they already are.
Well, mods are a whole other story because that's unregulated Wild West type shit. Yeah. Like the Pokemon thing, A, you knew it was going to happen, and B, you knew it was going to explode 30 minutes after it got released. Did you look at it? It looks amazing. Yeah. And the reason Nintendo, and the only reason Nintendo and like Nintendo fanboys are mad is because this game kind of looks better than the last Pokemon game does.
Well,
like it also looks like it kind of plays better than the last Pokemon game does.
And to be honest with you, though, I mean, like the 30 minutes I'm into it right now, it doesn't feel like a Pokemon game.
Right?
No,
it really like
feels like a survival game.
Yeah, the only thing about it that makes it feel like a Pokemon game, which honestly, if Pokemon wants to chase it, is the fact that you catch them in that ball. I could see Pokemon maybe talking to them about that and saying, "Can you need to think of a different catch system or device to update that somehow," because it literally is.
It literally is a Pokeball, but it's called something else.
It looks similar, but it's not the same.
Right.
Yeah. Nintendo doesn't own spheres. You know, like the thing is like they own Pokeballs. They own the designs of all of the Pokeballs.
Yeah, like if they called it a Pokeball, that'd be a different story. If
they called it but again, like Digimon games, you go battle and they turn into eggs in some of the games. And then they grow and they evolve and also like similar but not the same. Like I could see Nintendo saying these 6 characters look the same. You need to change these 6 characters. And they go in there and go, okay, fine. And they redesign these 6 characters. Like, that's really all that – for every complaint they have, I feel like they could go in there and be like, okay, fine, and change it. Like, all this stuff where it's like all the characters are AI generated. All this is AI. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's 2024. A lot of shit's AI generated.
This seems like the perfect start to 2024.
Yeah. But, like, this is where we are technology-wise. You're telling me I can have a program design 100 different things for me?
Yeah.
I'm going to probably do that and use that as inspiration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're going to use it. It means you're going to use it to, like, we can tweak this and make this work.
Exactly.
And again, if Palworld, Nintendo shuts down things that are Ocarina of Time 2D version that they put out there. Or remember when Metroid, AM2R, well, they shut it down because they were making that game. Like... I don't know. Matt says it. It doesn't play like a Pokemon game.
Yeah,
I
mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first got into it, it did kind of feel like playing Pokemon. But the fact that you're like building things and you're like, it doesn't feel like a Pokemon game, right? Because in Pokemon, all you're trying to do is catch every single thing in the world and be the best gym leader. This is strictly survival based. You need to catch all of these creatures, and they're essentially helping you build your land or your
base.
Your house.
Yeah.
and like they're there to protect you essentially. But like the first three things you run into is a cat, a chicken, and a sheep. So it's not like it's exactly the same thing that's at. Well, and that's why I was saying like the characters that I have seen that like when you progress further remind me of Digimon is because they legitimately do. Like they're not like the same thing like Pokemon are. Like,
it goes back to like, does Nintendo own cats and everything that kind of looks like a cat?
Right.
Do they own sheep and everything that kind of looks like a sheep? No, they don't. They own. It's not their fault. It's not palworld's fault that some Pokemon in Nintendo are just fucking cats.
Yeah.
Or just sheep. Like there are ones that are literally just the animal they look like.
Yeah.
So how different does it have to be? I mean, obviously it's going to keep getting a ton of attention. I think if Nintendo was going to do something, it probably would have already happened. Like, I think the only real response they had was like, we're going to look into it. But I guarantee their lawyers are like, well, we could try, but I don't know what it's going to accomplish. And I read a good article about it too, where palworld is so popular that if Nintendo were to come after it and shut it down, that's bad publicity for Nintendo.
At this point,
for something that like it shows almost like they're jealous.
Yeah,
that they're doing it better. We got to get rid of it, and they have a history of that.
I mean, 8 million copies. That's insane.
8 million copies
in a week.
In a week.
That's insane.
And you can't, and like obviously it's like Xbox and PC only. If this game survives and it makes it to PlayStation, it's gonna sell another couple million.
Another 8 million.
Yeah, like this game is gonna sell, and like as long as the people who make it keep up with it, they'll be fine.
Does the dare go to Nintendo?
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting to see if it would pass certification.
I mean, I'm just saying.
There you go.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's going to exist. As long as they keep up with it, it'll be fine. The mods are going to get out of control. They're already out of control for this game, but they have to basically disavow those mods. Like that Pokemon one, I just laughed because it was the guy posted that thing, and he's already like, Nintendo already sent me something. It's like, oh, of course they did, dude. You put actual fucking Pokemon in this game. I don't know. It's a cool idea to me. If I were to play it legit, I'd probably only want to play it modded because I bet that game is eventually, well, especially like as time goes on, people are going to make crazy mods for that. They'll like fix stuff and all this other stuff. So and that's how I would want to do it. But I mean, I don't see how Nintendo can win this. Like, I just don't. It's not the same game.
No.
It'll
be interesting to see how it shakes out. I mean,
for sure.
Do we come back in 2 weeks and now it's sold 16 million copies?
I think it's going to slow down, but I think another thing that you might see is Nintendo puts out a statement where it says like, you know, we've decided not to take any action at this time, but we'll be monitoring it. Like, and that's all they can do, probably.
Yeah. This was interesting. The developers of Dragon's Dogma 2 really wanted to ditch fast travel for that game. And, like, I mean, it would be a bummer, but at a certain point in that game, I'm sure you get to a point in any game that's open world where, like, no, you just want to get to this city and take care of this quest. But,
well,
I would, it'd also be interesting. I mean, their argument is, if your game's got enough going on in between, then there shouldn't need to be a need for it.
Right.
So,
or if the quest structure in your game is appropriate.
Yeah.
If the quest structure in your game sends you to the opposite end of the map, which games do that all the time.
Oh yeah. I'm
not running to the others. That's insane, especially if I'm just trying to do this quest.
Yeah.
But if it's structured in such a way where like it's over here and it would be better for you to just
walk all the way across the map to turn something in, only to be told, "Hey, you can go back to that town you just came from."
Right. And that's bad design. Yeah. And that's why fast travel is necessary. Like, I don't necessarily need fast travel in every game if the game is fun.
And you don't necessarily utilize it at every single point. But like you said, if you have one point all the way across the map where you're just trying to turn something in or talk to somebody.
You just came from there, yeah.
Why would
you really want to turn right around
there's plenty of games. There's plenty of games I like running around in just to get around. Like,
for sure.
Like a Dragon is a perfect example.
Yeah.
I rarely fast travel in that game. Until I got to the end of that game when I was doing the grind to like get the weapons upgraded and go to this dungeon and do this stuff, where it's easier just to do that. But like every other quest in that game, I'll just run there. It's right here. I can just run there. Lost Judgment, you can skateboard there.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't need to fast travel if I can skateboard.
Hey, you can throw a skateboard and I don't need any of that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Let me do tricks.
Hell yeah.
Throw some half pipes in there.
You collect like, currency on your way there.
I'll do you one better. Let me grind rails and I don't need any fast travel.
Hell yeah. Sunset Overdrive. I never fast traveled anywhere.
I never fast traveled in that game either.
Because it's more fun. It's more fun.
Man. I don't think I put it in the news, but did you see how much they paid off that game?
$500.
That's so bad.
Disappointing.
Like,
well, did you see the other news?
I know why you'll never see a sequel.
Well, you know the other news, right? PlayStation owns it now.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why you'll never see a sequel, because Microsoft A can't make it.
You could B, you could never convince Sony to do a sequel.
It would never make money.
Because all they do is point at the amount of money.
Made $500. I think it was like $547.
Yeah,
and that's before. That game was before Game Pass.
2014.
Oh my god!
Hey, I bought it. You bought it.
I love that game.
I'm part of that 500.
Hell yeah! I gave him some money. No, I didn't pay for it. I got it for free because it worked.
Pay for it. I paid.
I did get that. I did win that hoodie though.
True.
Yeah, I still have that hoodie. It's great, and I haven't had the drink.
Cliffy B has voiced again that he would be willing to return to Gears of War. At this point, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, let him come back. He hasn't been there since 3.
I think if you
Ron Ferguson's off doing Diablo stuff, so like, why not have the original creator come back and have input in the next Gears of War, since we clearly aren't getting it for a while?
No.
So,
do you think we should just restart it?
I think you do one more to finish off this story because of how the last game ends. Okay. It'd be a bummer if they didn't make good on that. So, even though, as we've talked, that like it gives you a choice, but there's only one direction they'll take that choice. Yeah. So, but I would be bummed if they came out and said, "Well, we're not going to do anything with that." I'd like to see that story end, and you would have to do one more.
And it got to the point in that game where Kate is a good character. Like, you care.
Yeah.
Like, they're all good. Like, they managed to.
I enjoyed Gears 5.
Yeah, so. Gears 5 is good.
It was a good game. So, it's just weird. Like, it's been 5 years, which is crazy to think about.
Honestly,
it's been 5 years. It feels longer, but it's like we haven't heard anything from Coalition. So maybe this will be the E3 or that time frame when we get our big Xbox show. Maybe we'll hear about it this year. The other big thing that's blown up, I think, was this yesterday this happened? Or is it? It's not been today. I think it was yesterday. The Microsoft laying off. I think they've laid off. I think now the number's up to 2,200. But
I'm not surprised.
Mostly Blizzard and Activision staying. There is one thing in here that they did get rid of, which is the alarming thing we were talking about earlier, which their physical games department, they just kind of shuttered that department.
Right.
So, which, if you thought the writing was maybe not on the wall for physical media, I'd say in the last month it's even more on the wall that's coming to them.
Yeah,
if you're going to be putting out an all digital only Series X by the end of this year and potentially selling out of the disc version, of the system, then it's obvious that this is the future.
Right.
Exactly.
The firing the Activision Blizzard, like, that was expected, right? Like,
the thing that I'll say about it is that, like, anytime that people get laid off, it's a bummer, but this is a $69 billion, acquisition. There was always going to be layoffs.
Well, there's going to be overlap.
There's overlap. They're going to trim, some of the extra areas that they don't need extra people doing certain things.
I'm guaranteed that, like, stuff that was in production is gone now. Like, that one game got canceled.
Yeah.
Like,
I was thinking there was a Blizzard.
There's plenty of other games, I'm sure, that were in some kind of stage where they said those are gone now.
Yeah.
And we are going to take X amount of people and move them to things, and then everybody else has to go. Like it sucks because obviously a lot of people lose their jobs. Like, this was going to happen, and the physical game thing, like, it's an inevitability, man.
That's the thing. It's like I look at it and go, yeah, it sucks, but also it's predictable at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you already know that that's the route that they're going.
So my question, it literally just came to my head. So if we're going towards more of a digital-based world, which is what we're leaning towards, how do you go about selling your game collection?
You don't. It's gone. It's yours. It's not hell, dude. It's digital. It's not even yours.
Exactly.
Remember back in the day when the Xbox One was gonna come out and it was gonna have all that crazy shit before they walked it back?
Well, the main thing
GameStop was looking into a way to trade in digital content. Right. So I remember that was obviously nothing ever came of it because they walked all that shit back. But there was at one time like people looking into that kind of a thing, but I don't think that's the thing anymore.
I just feel like at some point, like, because I mean that's the big thing now is even with your PlayStation 5s, you know, you're selling, if you want to sell your PS5, you're selling it with all the physical games that you have. So in the future, if you choose to sell your PlayStation 6, you're just selling, you have to erase everything and you're just selling your PlayStation 6.
Or you sell them your account. Like, there's a world where like that happens. Like,
yeah, but you gotta remember, like a lot of people by now, like let's say me and us three, by now, all of our we've had our accounts for ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my PlayStation account has hundreds of games in it.
Exactly. So it's like I don't know. I get why we're leaning towards that digital phase. I just don't. I don't fully understand. I don't feel like everybody is going to grasp how that's going to be handled.
Microsoft is the one company that can actively and easily do it because they're going to just put those games on their service anyway.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, they just want to sell you this service. Like, what was the thing that like when Conan O'Brien did the Clueless Gamer thing with Starfield, right?
Okay.
They didn't play that on an Xbox. They played that on a TV.
Yeah.
So like they're already 25% of the way to this, where like games will just play on TVs and shit now, and you'll have your controller.
There are TVs out there that have that capability.
Yes, exactly. But in like,
what does they have that from Samsung or something?
Yeah, Samsung. It's like a Samsung Smart TV.
Yeah.
But because half of that Clueless Gamer thing was an ad for this TV, but he fucking played Starfield on it and it worked. But the thing is like, they just did this developer direct, right? Hellblade, Avowed. Do
you think there's a physical version of Avowed?
No.
Probably not.
Do you think there's a physical Indiana Jones? No, I don't.
I think of those games, that would be the one maybe.
If one got one, it would be that, but not if it's coming out at the same time that the digital X comes out.
No.
Yeah.
And it's just on Game Pass. So they can easily do it. PlayStation can't necessarily do it. They could, but I think it's more of a shit show for them.
Nintendo
won't do it.
They won't do it.
But the problem that this creates is Microsoft says, okay, well, we're not going to make first party discs anymore because it doesn't make sense for us because of Game Pass. But what happens for third party stuff? They release an all digital Series X. Do you think that companies are going to bother to print Xbox copies of stuff?
No.
They can save the money and just sell it online. And the biggest kicker of all this, the biggest like kick in the ass of all this, is it doesn't mean prices are going down.
No, and that's the thing. Like, you've seen that argument with a couple games that come out, like Alan Wake was one.
Sure.
There was another one recently too. And
Hellblade probably wouldn't be
as well. Yeah. Hellblade's 50,
right?
So if you were to buy it, and that was been the argument, but like, okay, but if the entire industry goes this way, do you think they're going to lower the prices from 70 to 60?
Is Microsoft going to release physical Call of Duty next year for Xbox? Maybe not.
Yikes.
Maybe not, because in theory, well, I don't think they're going to put the new ones on Game Pass, but I bet you it's a $70 download.
Probably.
So like it's opening. You're getting you're getting less than what you're paying for, and you kind of don't own it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tricky, but again, I've talked about it. Like, I don't even have a Series X yet. I'm going to get one for Indiana Jones, obviously. I'm just getting a digital one because it's going to be a Game Pass box. I don't plan on owning games for that system because
that's
a Game
the thing
Pass
too.
box.
It's like at that point,
I'm just paying to rent.
You're better not to because like, what's the point of buying those now if you're not going to be able to put those discs in the next system?
Or if the disc like Starfield, which is now 3 cents, is just is what Xbox One games were supposed to be, where they were supposed to be check discs.
That's what that is,
right?
That's what a lot of their games are. That's why when you hit me up that one day, I think it was like around Black Friday, about the Halo Infinite, and I said I'm not interested. Isn't because I wouldn't like to have a copy on my shelf, because I know that disc is just a check disc. There's no time.
Right.
So,
and that was what they were supposed to be, that they had to back off of at Xbox One time. You'd put the game in, you'd install it, and you just have to do a check disc every day. Yeah. No, people wouldn't stand for it. Well, guess what?
It was Game Pass to get them there. Yeah.
Guess what? You don't have a choice, and that's. Yeah. But it makes me think about, like, Sony makes baseball for all 3 consoles. Are they going to produce a physical Xbox copy?
Probably not.
Maybe this year.
Not after this year.
Probably next year. So then that becomes even weirder. And then the companies have to think about, like, well, if we're not making the Xbox One, should we make a PlayStation one? We could just put it on our system.
It's going to be interesting because it really seems like Microsoft is the first of these big companies to be pushing head first into digital. But again,
it's because they have a model that backs that.
They do. And
you're already you specifically, like, because you play Xbox games on Game Pass, you're already showing them that physical media doesn't mean shit for that. Yeah, it just doesn't.
Even though I do buy a lot of Xbox games.
You do.
But yeah.
You do, but, like, who bought a physical copy of Starfield for Xbox?
Exactly.
Why would you? I don't get it. Unless it's like me or you, where it's cheap and I want it on the shelf just to be like, cool, I own Starfield.
If somehow I got that 3-cent copy of it, like, yeah, sure, put it on the shelf.
I would even pay like $5 to $10 just because it would be a cool thing to be on the shelf.
Yeah, for sure.
You paid full price.
I have other games like that, like Gears Tactics is a good one. I own a physical copy of that because I paid $5 for it.
Yeah,
it's a cool thing to have on the shelf.
I have MLB Show 21 for Xbox because it was $5.
I bought the first, I have both of them, but Judgment when it came out, because it's a box that literally says Xbox Series X only.
Yeah,
and I thought that was funny. Yeah. So
there's a collector's, there's still a collector's aspect to this stuff, but if Xbox physical games disappeared, it sounds odd to say it, but I don't think it would upset me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird where we are now with it.
Well,
so
if you want to be a collector, PS4 games are still around. PS3 games are still around. 360 games are still. There are games to collect, which you can still play as long as you keep older systems. That's the other thing. Is like there's no value in trading in old systems anymore. There just isn't, because you can't guarantee it's going to work on the next thing. B, that it even has any value. It's like. I'm worried that some days, like, some of these PS4 games just aren't going to work on PS5, even though in theory they should, right? It shouldn't be a problem. But going forward, you know what? Some of them don't work quite right now because we have to change something inside.
Sure.
It's like the PS3 to PS4 thing. Like, nope, sorry. Sorry.
They were a staunch, like, both machines, and then we got the weird, emulation for some 360.
Well, that was awesome. The PlayStation one was even better because the PS4 was basically, they were like, yeah, we fucked up making the PS3 games, so sorry.
Yeah.
They just don't work.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The last news thing I threw in here, because this was from today, the Outriders and Bulletstorm developers reportedly laid off more than 30 staff. So more layoffs, which, again, it's that time of year. So as well.
Well, and as two people
with Christmas.
Yeah, sure.
As two people who've played Outriders,
makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think their next game is? I don't think they're making an Outriders 2.
No, that series is dead.
I think they were lucky they got to do that DLC expansion
Yeah.
To be fair. So, but yeah. So,
well, the only other thing from today, you didn't put in there, but like the hot new Switch 2 stuff, where it's an
where they're talking about it's an 8-inch screen. Yeah, I saw that. I believe it.
I believe it too, but it poses a problem where if it's an 8-inch screen, it physically has to be taller because it's 8 inches, which means your current Joy-Cons
will not work.
Now,
I never thought they would either.
Well, could they work as a secondary controller? Sure, because you've got the little thing, but no more colors on your one. So it's going to be strange because if the Switch 2 plays Switch 1 cartridges, which you would hope it does, in the same, they would just both go in the same slot.
Yeah, okay, if it's taller, you don't think they would design it in such a way that it kind of caps off or something?
I don't. It's strange because I thought about it. Maybe there's like an adapter or something they could do to put them on there, but they'd still be smaller than the system is.
Yeah.
So it would still look and maybe it probably feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, because
your Joy-Cons would sit lower, like in a way, I guess, lower than the actual screen.
Yeah, how far would they click down?
Yeah.
Would they go halfway up, so it would be in the middle, but it would still be weird because there'd be space on the top and the bottom.
Exactly.
And as someone who has bigger hands, and the current ones already don't feel right on that screen, like if I'm playing it in handheld mode, I can't imagine what they would do if they were smaller than the screen. It would like trigger some kind of weird OCD thing in me where I could not stand it. Which obviously you'll get a pair with the system, but it's just a strange thing where
I still think we're right around the corner from a reveal.
It feels closer. It feels closer.
Yeah. I just feel like it's going to be like the last time where you're just going to wake up one morning like, here it is.
Yep.
We'll talk more in a couple months.
Yeah, so that's fine. They nailed it last time. I remember thinking like, I don't know if I care.
And the more I think about it,
like, shit, I really care.
And the more I think about it, the more I really do think it's going to be like a new 3DS type situation.
Yeah, it seems to be pointing more towards that just because
the new Nintendo Switch.
They can get away with a lot more if it's just that.
And you're going to get those rebranded games they pulled that are going to be works on new Nintendo Switch.
All the ones that all of a sudden they aren't selling anymore?
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden they'll just get re-released with new Nintendo Switch on the top.
Instead of a red box, it'll be a white box.
White box.
Say new. Yeah, exactly. So.
They need to go back to the purple scheme. They should go back to the purple color scheme.
That'd be cool.
We're missing out. Yeah.
For sure.
We kick off. It looks like we've all watched some movie-related content or that type. I have not. I have Aquaman. I have not watched Aquaman yet. I will watch Aquaman for the next time we
I will too at some point.
But I watched, and I almost did that night, and then I was like, nah, I'll watch this Night Swim movie, only because it was up on digital 2 weeks after it came out. So I knew it probably wasn't going to be that great. And the sad part about that movie is I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would until the very end. Because I actually went with the premise of it. I thought it was interesting. Mm-hmm. It's definitely different than a lot of horror movies. It's not even a scary movie, really. It's got creepy elements. But it pulls a lot of elements from other movies. But the problem is the elements it's pulling are from better movies. So I really like Kurt Russell's son Wyatt as an actor, and he's really good in this.
Is he the dad?
He's the dad.
Okay.
And the whole thing is he was a baseball player that's had to retire early because he's coming down with MS. He's like in the early stages of MS. Okay. And then they buy this house. He falls into the pool accidentally, and it starts to heal him. So all of a sudden he goes and he has these tests, and it's like, yeah, we don't really have signs that you have MS anymore. And then weird stuff starts happening with the pool. And it takes a path where, like, I thought the route it goes, because the other thing is the pool is not a normal pool. It's built on like a natural spring.
Okay.
So it goes back a little bit into where like it was specifically like a wishing well. And so it has basically like a give and take thing, right? Okay. Where it's like, okay, it'll heal you or it'll fix this thing, but in order to do that, it's going to take a life. And they go through the history, and then the wife, she kind of goes through and figures out like this isn't just like happened as a pool. This goes back way, way back. There's all these instances that have happened with this. But the end is like the most fucking cliched.
Yeah.
Cookie cutter, like, and like the minute I learned what the pool was doing, what the rule was,
you knew
how it was going to end, and it ended exactly the way I thought. And then it has this shitty, like, once that happens and that's over with, the parent, the mom and the daughter's like, we're just going to cover up the pool then, and that's how that movie ends. So I was bummed at that. But up until that very like last 5 minutes, I enjoyed the movie, and I probably would have been higher on it. It's a success. January release. So, and then the only thing I put on here, it's not a movie, but I have watched the first 2 episodes of True Detective season 4, which I was really excited about because I love Jodie Foster. And she's fantastic. It is. We'll see how it ends, but like, obviously, nothing will ever top that original season.
Yeah, I mean, that season of television is like one of the greatest. That's seasons like
Breaking Bad level. Yeah, exactly. Like in the hallmarks of
I just remember like, that show. Just like every episode, it was just like, holy shit!
How could it get better?
Yeah,
and then it did. And then season 2 of that show is terrible.
Right.
And then they didn't put it on for a while. And they made a season 3 with the guy that's going to play the new Blade, and that was a really good season of that show. And so, but this, the minute they were like, "Oh, it's gonna be Jodie Foster," I'm like, "Well, she doesn't make shit."
Right.
So that's one actress that like she will pick something, man, and you know it's not going to be.
She made Panic Room. How could she make anything?
Exactly right. So, this has been really good. It has a good supernatural element to it, where it's like maybe it's going to go that route, but maybe not. So, and the second episode specifically starts out real fucked up. So. It's so cool. And there's a lot of because it takes place in Alaska and it's at night
all the time.
You can tell they have heavy influences from John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's
really
cool.
But it's not like that. It's not like there's not going to be.
They should make a Thing TV show. That'd be really fucking good. It'd
be really cool. But it's like a tremendous show so far.
Thing show. That'd be awesome.
That'd be dope.
This is only going to be 6 episodes, but I'm already glued to it. There's been 2, so I look forward to it. But you've watched some stuff as well, Dan.
I'll start with the lesser one. So my PlayStation is set to like auto off after how many hours, and I just left it on all day and I forgot about it. Came downstairs and it turned itself off. And my TV is a smart TV that has that like built-in automatic TV stuff. So it just automatically kicked itself over to whatever the Action Network was on my TV at the time. And this movie, it's right as this movie's starting, called Final Score. And I'd never heard of this movie before. But then I saw it stars Dave Bautista. And I'm like, okay, let's see what happens, right? And the plot of the movie is, it's very similar to an old Jean-Claude Van Damme movie called Sudden Death, where basically there's a bomb in like a hockey rink during the Stanley Cup, and at the end of the game, it's going to explode and kill everybody. This is the same fucking premise where these guys like take over this soccer stadium because it's in London or England, or somewhere in England, and but at the end of the game, the whole stadium's going to explode because they're trying to rob somebody, whatever.
What year is this film?
This is only a couple years ago, because here's the kicker. Pierce Brosnan is in this movie for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And he's like a guy that bad guys are looking for in this stadium. And that's why they took it over. They're looking for this dude. And when he first showed up on the screen, because I know nothing about this, I'm just kind of watching it. And I'm like, is that Pierce Brosnan? There's no way. This is like C-level type garbage movie, right? You know, like it's exactly what it is, and it's fine for what it is, because Batista goes nuts and he kills a shitload of people, and he rides a motorcycle on the roof of this stadium and jumps off of stuff.
I'm into it.
Nobody in the stadium sees any of this happening or hears any gunfire or explosions, because of course they fight in the kitchen and a gas line blows up in this dude's face.
Love it.
It's that kind of movie. At one point they're fighting in the kitchen, and this guy had like pushes his face into the griddle, and he's about to push him into the deep fryer, but he had killed a guy like 2 minutes before, and the dude's gun or knife flew into the deep fryer. So he fucking sticks his hand into the deep fryer that's on, grabs the knife, and then stabs the guy like up through the jaw. I'm like, holy shit. And then he just tapes his hand up, and he's good. He's good, man. Good to go. He stuck his hand in a fucking 500-degree fryer. No problem. I'm good. It's that kind of movie. It's dumb as hell, but it's fun. But yeah, so he rolls up on this guy. He finally finds a guy in the crowd. I'm like, is that Pierce Brosnan? There's no way it's Pierce Brosnan. And then they pull him out. And they start walking down the hall. I'm like, oh my God, it is. And then, of course, he ends up like, spoilers. Like, he ends up dead like 15 minutes later. And you're like, what's the point of this fucking movie? But it's fun to watch just because it's that kind of movie. You know, he's running around, going through the tunnels in this soccer stadium. A good watch if you like cheesy action stuff.
He's got like a full beard here.
It's on Tubi if you're interested in watching.
Yeah, it's also on my Samsung Smart TV, Action Network. But yeah, dumb thing to watch, but whatever. It was on. I'm like, okay. The other movie I watched is I was looking for something to watch last night, and I decided I'm gonna watch Barbie, just because at this point I want to see what it's like. I want to see. Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of like Oscar stuff going around with it right now, which is having watched the movie.
Would you say having watched the movie, the right people that were nominated were nominated?
No, they should have been nominated, because the thing about this movie is, I'll say out of the jump, it's an 8 out of 10. It's actually pretty good. And it's pretty good because it is made incredibly well, and because she is very good in it. Like, she carries this entire movie about how she's a doll that suddenly has like weird feelings she's never had before, and has to carry the whole thing. It's crazy, and she is so good in it. And it's like there are I had problems with the movie too, but like it's actually pretty funny. There's a lot of good like one-off jokes that they just kind of say. They do this weird thing where it's got like fourth wall elements, and it's got like it's very overly meta to a point where I think it's actually a problem, because Mattel is a thing in the movie, but it's made to be like drones work in cubicles, and it's made to be like they're bad guys. And I'm like, Will Ferrell's character does not work. He just he does not need to exist in the movie. Like, that is not the point of this. I like, obviously it's a lot about like Barbie's world is perfect and there's a patriarchy and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Men are bad, women are good. Like, there is obviously a huge message in it. That kind of stuff is whatever to me, because like it is the point of the movie. But the problem I had with it is she doesn't spend enough time in the real world. Like, you would think watching the trailers and stuff for this movie that like it's about her going to the real world to do something. And the point of it is she's starting to have these weird thoughts about like death and stuff, and none of them ever do. And it turns out that happens when the person who plays with you in the real world starts to feel bad or feel a certain way or play with you a certain way. Like, you become self-aware. So the point is she has to go there to find this person and try to like fix it, because
which is what America Fiera and
it's her and her daughter. Yeah. But this is that when she goes there, that's when the movie starts to kind of get, I say weird, but like
interesting.
Yeah. Like, I felt like there was more to do. She's in the real world. Matt, you've seen the movie, right?
Oh yeah.
She's in the real world for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and then like they immediately come up with an excuse to go back.
Yep.
So it's like most of the movie is in Barbie world, and the other thing is Barbie world is a real thing that people know about in the real world in this movie. They're just like, yeah, it exists, and they come over sometimes. It's super. That's where like the movie gets like oddly meta about itself, where like everybody just accepts that this happens. But then they go back and like Ken is taken over because he came with her and he went back on his own and introduced all the Kens to like, this is how it should be. And then the whole thing is like, well, taking that down in a fight. Everybody's performances in the movie are great. The way the movie looks is great. Like, the directing is great. The story is fine, but like the execution is where it was weak. But overall, like, I find myself really liking it because it is genuinely funny at a lot of points. Michael Cera is fucking brilliant in it as Alan. He's just this like throwaway character who's just so pissed off he has to like even be here, and because he's nobody. Yeah, he's great, and he's just like
he's fantastic.
he's like a tier lower than Ken, so he just hates it.
Okay.
He's like, well, nobody pays attention to me. Why am I even here? I just want out of here. But he's great.
That's cool.
There's a great one of my favorite jokes is there's a great meta joke because early on there's Helen Mirren does like narration to explain the beginning of the movie too.
Sure.
And then she disappears. Except for one joke kind of in the middle where like Barbie's upset about how she's not pretty enough and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And then she breaks it and she goes, yes, the irony of having Margot Robbie tell you that she's not pretty is not lost on anyone. So like it's a good self-aware, like almost in a Deadpool way.
Okay.
But I wish they would have done more with that and less with Mattel. Is weird because I'm telling you, man, the Will Ferrell stuff just does not work. Okay. I feel like if it was removed, you would not lose anything. And I really wish they would have spent more time in the real world. That being said, like, the movie does not need a sequel. It should not get a sequel. There's no room for a sequel. Like everything is quote unquote solved by the end of this. Okay. But I did.
But it's Hollywood and they'll make it.
Yeah, but if you do, if you do, I think the smart thing is not to put Margot Robbie in it. Like the thing is there's 12 Barbies and there's 12 Kens. Pick anyone else. They all work.
I can see that.
Yeah, and that's fine. There could be like a Barbie universe, I guess, or like the Mattel universe where it's Barbie and it's about a different Barbie because there's other ones in here that are important too. I really wish there was one other thing. I really wish they would have not bleeped the one F word in the movie because it was pretty good. Like it didn't. Obviously, it's PG-13, so they get one. They could have used it.
Interesting.
Because it's not a kid. It is not a kids movie. I watched it and like.
No,
kids will like.
We had that discussion when they were showing the trailers.
Kids, there are aspects about it that kids will like because it's colorful and it's fun.
For sure.
But it will go. A lot of stuff will go over their heads. But it's the message it's laying down is not for kids. And not. Yeah. No. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. She should have been at least up for Best Actress. Like she's probably not going to win for this, but if Ryan Gosling and America Ferrera got it, after having watched this movie, she deserves it. Because America Ferrera, like she is in it a lot, and she's important. But I also don't feel like.
They gave that nomination for her because she's the one that gives the speech.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing.
There's a very powerful speech, and then they kind of repeat it a couple of times. But that's kind of all she does. It's a little strange. And then Ryan Gosling as Ken is good, but I don't think his performance was better than hers.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a good movie though. I liked it.
I told y'all it was a good movie.
Yeah, I went into it with like this could go either way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it really could be really good, or it could just be like, man, it's tiring.
Disaster.
Yeah.
And that's what I told you when I saw it. I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go get popcorn. I'm down. All right.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It's like it's good. I'll probably never watch it again because I don't need to. But I just don't need to. The only movies I watch again and again are like action movies and shit like that. But
yeah.
Barbie's good, y'all. Matt was right.
Thank you. I was right. Thank you.
What about you, Matt?
So I tackled the Marvels the other day.
Out on digital now. I think it's on Disney Plus next month.
It was okay. I'll give it a solid. It was okay. Was it like fantastic? No. Do I really feel like Marvel's like completely lost a lot of their magic? Yeah. However, I would agree. The girl who plays Miss Marvel.
Yeah, Iman she's really good.
She's fantastic. She was so good in this, and I didn't watch the show, so going into it not really knowing her character actually has kind of made me now want to go back and watch the show. So I kind of see.
If you liked her in the movie, you'll like the show for sure.
Perfect.
Is there any references in that particular movie to the Kane stuff at all, or no?
No.
Okay.
Like, really, there's no references at all to Kane.
So they don't have to worry about any
this
kind
movie,
of with that movie.
The movie is a direct sequel to both Captain Marvel and her show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all like that's like one contained mini universe within like the Marvel thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that it oversteps is like Nick Fury's in it and Valkyrie shows up for like 4
A
minutes.
split second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in all, though, I mean, it wasn't like horrible for me, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's not bad. Like it is a perfectly serviceable movie.
Yeah.
And the best part of the movie is the three of them together, like talking and doing things together. The movie that's built around it, not the best.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, I'd give it a solid 6 out of 10. I'd watch it again, like if it was on or anything like that. Like it's just one of those things I'd put on the background. I did like the Beast cameo at the end.
That's so fucked up. Like that was the weirdest fucking part.
Yeah, it was.
He's
a
going to
little
be in
strange.
Deadpool 3, right?
He has to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
My thought is maybe that's where that dimension is.
It has to be.
That's
Right,
got
it
to
has
be
to
it.
be.
Yeah.
It's got to be it.
So that, I mean, like I said, it wasn't horrible. It was pretty solid. The only other thing I got into is I decided to watch that Kevin Hart movie on Netflix called Lift.
Okay.
It is it's a bank. It's a heist movie, man.
Okay,
Like,
so it's a movie. It's not a stand-up.
yeah, it's a movie.
Yeah.
The basis of it is Kevin Hart is a heist thief, and essentially he is sought out by Interpol to rob a guy who's trying to get tech to take over the world. So is
it like Fast and the Furious type stuff, or like
I would assume it's an action comp.
Yeah, it's an action
we're the
comedy
good
type
guys
thing.
stealing from the other guys?
Yeah. So the bad guy in this movie, I forget his name, but the only way I can picture him is he was the other character from Onimusha 3, Jacques. Whatever.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
You know who I'm
I
talking
forget his
about?
name, but I know who you're talking
Is
about.
that Jean Reno? Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Yeah, that dude's
Okay. He's
He's
cool.
in like everything. Yeah.
He's very good in this
Played
one.
the professional.
Yeah, he plays
He's
a
in
very
Mission
good
Impossible.
villain, of course. But I mean, it's a heist movie. You know, kind of like what you would expect out of a heist movie. There's really nothing like great, I would say, about it, but there's also like nothing like really bad about it. Like I would probably pair it like at a 5 or a 6 if I put it on a scale of 1 to 10. So
I will also say, after we talked about it last time, I did go back and get and put on the server and rewatch for the first time in probably 20 years U.S. Marshals.
We were talking about it. I told
Still
you.
holds up.
It was great.
It still holds up. Still holds up.
I like it better than The Fugitive.
You like?
I say it's Fugitive more because Harrison Ford.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but
I agree.
The U.S. Marshals is a sequel that, if you think about it, it probably shouldn't have worked, but
No.
it did. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy.
Young Robert Downey in there, pre-Iron Man.
Right, yeah, that was the thing that blew her mind, because she watched a little bit of it when I was watching it. She's, is that Robert Downey Jr.? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. I'm pretty sure too that was like the tail end of the drug days.
That was
for him,
right at the end of the drug days, before everything
Yeah.
kind of fell apart.
Crazy.
So, he's good in the movie.
He's great in the movie. I love the part where
Yeah.
he takes the dude's glasses off and fucking breaks him. Takes his handcuffs off and throws it in.
that was the scene she saw.
Like, what the fuck?
Great.
Great movie.
We can kick it over to emails here. First email we have comes from Barry from Redacted. Hey guys, I've been with GameStop for long enough. I'm currently at ASL and I love getting to help people. I'm a people pleaser, but I have a backbone when I need to. Why is it so hard for me to start writing this resignation letter? I'm incredibly sad I'm leaving. I've been with the company over 10 years, but shitty coworkers and absolute shit pay has ruined the job for me. That combined with Cohen's, that's the guy's name, right?
Yeah,
The
that's true.
Chewy guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Cohen's absurd message last fall to roll up our sleeves like he thinks no one here is doing fuck all about anything or something. The writing has been on the wall for years, but I think this guy finally taking over as CEO has really thrust us into the end of days with his company. Yet I keep coming back to writing this letter, and it sucks. Any words of encouragement for me? Thanks, dudes. Love the podcast. I mean, my biggest encouragement would be just get through it.
The encouragement is to do it. Like, there's a million reasons not to do it, right? You've worked there for so long. It's easy. You know it. But there's just as many to get out.
And don't let it trick you into staying.
No. And that's the thing I think a lot of people fall for. And I think, like, you know, I was guilty of it to an extent. And then when finally given like a hard choice, I realized like I can't. And we're talking 7 years ago. I had to make that before all this happened.
Yeah,
it was that. Yeah. It was bad then. And you know, it's finally given a choice. It was to realize I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. Like at least not the way it is now. And you that was then. And it's just
in COVID.
long pre-COVID. But yeah, you know, you really just have to realize that you're better than this. GameStop does not care about you. They just don't. Mm-hmm. They didn't during the good times. They didn't care about employees. You think they care now?
Yeah.
No. Especially with him in charge. We go back to it a lot, but the day he appointed himself CEO was because
he's tired of it taking too long.
Right. He was tired of everybody else dragging it out. He realized he could do it quicker because he's done it before.
Every time I think about it, I think of that one edit credit scene from one of those Marvel movies. I don't remember which one, with your buddy Thanos picking up the gauntlet saying, "I'll do it myself."
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think of every time. So
yeah, just realizing that you're better than this, and we've talked about it before. You don't have to go to retail.
Yeah,
Kyle and I didn't go to retail afterwards.
No, I made that decision at that point that I was done with retail, but I had also done it. For me personally, that was going on, what did they see, 2017, 12, 13 years, too many years.
Honestly, the best way to write a resignation letter, especially if you really enjoy, like you said, he's a people pleaser and he really likes that aspect of the job, is to make it quick. Thank you for my time, but I'm putting in my 2 weeks. My last day will be this, and just end it.
Yeah, so that's another thing I think people get wrong about resignation letters and stuff, because I've quit places too.
Yeah.
You don't owe them an explanation.
Not at all.
You don't have to explain to them. You don't have to say like, I find it hard to say, you know, as
because
of such
a lot of times they're not going to give you a big explanation if they get rid of you.
Right. Yep. Well, that's the other thing too. Well, they don't feel obligated to do that. And I think a lot of times too, I think you find if you were to sit there and write a letter about, I don't feel valued and all this kind of stuff, I think you're more likely to get fired in those 2 weeks. As opposed to my last day is this, I feel like they're more likely to ask you to stay.
Yeah.
Like when you don't come at them with, this place sucks and I hate it and I'm going to leave. And if you just come at them with, this is my 2 week notice I'm putting in it, they might actually come to you and be like, well, this is what we could do for you. Yeah. I have firsthand experience. I know they do that to people at GameStop because they've done it to people I know and I still talk to. But yeah, it just, again, the other thing too is, writing a resignation letter, can you afford to not work for a while? If not, you really should be out hunting for a job, secure a job.
We don't know his situation if he's found something else. So,
but if you can afford to not work for a little bit, then do the 2 weeks thing, take a week off for yourself and just enjoy it, and then go out and start hunting. And it's like Kyle did. You throw applications at the wall.
Yeah, like for me, I spent like that first week, I just did application. I probably filled out like 150 applications.
You were telling me about it every day. Mm-hmm.
It was absurd because that's all I did. But then it didn't take me very long to get something.
Well, and think about it this way too. The worst thing that happens in that scenario is someone offers you a job you don't take.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
You don't want to get hung up on, well, this place never responded to me. Move on.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. Don't be the kind of person that's calling them 3 times. Like, take it as a sign to move on.
And if you ever get 2 job opportunities, don't have a problem with telling them that you're getting an opportunity somewhere else, because that plays in your favor to show people like what you're worth. Because I know, like, in my current position, I had 2 companies trying to reach out to me, and I told the one that I'm at now, I said, listen, this other company is gonna pay me more, and they're offering something better. What do you have compared to what they're throwing me? Like, you don't have to feel like you have to take the very first thing that comes to mind either.
For sure.
You know?
Right. You have an assistant manager at a GameStop. Again, we talked about it before. It goes a farther way than you think it does. Yeah. Because if you stop and you think about what you actually do at that place when you're by yourself for 9 hours a day, you do far more than you think you do.
Yeah.
And I put every single thing on mine. If it was a skill that was even remotely close, it was on there. Cash handling, customer service, managed a team, inventory specialist, like everything. Fuck dude, I was a janitor.
Yep.
Yeah, you can, yeah. I was gonna say you can throw maid in there too.
But still,
vacuuming and dusting. There you go. Yeah, you'd have those
directly
situations
responsible
where
for
mommy is
latchkey
dropping
kids.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. Next email to us comes from Jason from Westchester, Pennsylvania. Hey dudes, love the podcast and I love when you guys talk about movies. Curious with the Oscar nominations, how much do you all care about that part of the movie scene? Are you avid fans of the award show, or do you just in general avoid it? Thanks. You know me. I watch it every year. I did not watch it last year. The one year I didn't watch is the year Will Smith slapped somebody. So that's the one year I didn't watch.
I don't normally watch, and that was the year I did.
That was the year you watched. Yeah. I grew up watching it with my mom, and the reason I do is because that's what she did, and that's how I got into it. So I've always watched it. I've always been fascinated with it. I will say, as it's gotten on, I feel it has gotten a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like since like the 90s and the early 2000s. I think now today it's kind of just.
I watch it if there are
whatever.
I watch it if there's specifically like a movie or a person nominated that I am a fan.
Absolutely.
Of. Like when they were doing, was it last year that was Everything Everywhere All at Once? Was that last year?
I think so. Yeah,
that was last year.
I love that movie. I'm heavily invested in that movie. I would like to see these people win.
And you got a Will Smith.
And I got a Will Smith, but then so I got to see like everybody win, and I got to see Brendan Fraser win, which is great because I've loved him forever.
That was the one thing I wanted to see, and then I watched the YouTube video eventually.
But I've loved him forever. Just like I love all his old Journey to the Center of the Earth, Blast from Past. I love all those movies. They're good movies. So like if I'm invested in people who do it or like a movie, I will watch.
Yeah, like for years, for years for me it was Leo, seeing him finally win. After years of I'll even say today, like the movie he did win for, I don't think is his best movie. No. There are movies he should have won.
Yes,
years before in comparison to what he did win. Not that the movie he won for was bad, but I don't think it's the one he should have won for. The last one that I really cared about seeing like a specific actor win for a performance would be Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker movie. Just because his performance was insane. So, and it's crazy that we live in a world where 2 actors have played Joker and won an Oscar for it.
Yeah, that's really weird.
That's insane.
It's bizarre, but hey, if you think about it, both those performances are vastly different.
Oh yeah.
And great, but. This year, I am going to watch it this year. The real honest reason last year was at the time I would have gone and I would go back and go back into my parents' house and watch it with my mom. I didn't have a car because we were down to one car at the time. So that's the real reason. And I don't have cable TV, so I didn't have a way to watch it live. But this year I am planning on watching it, so I'm going to go back to watching it. As far as what I don't really care about anything in here. Like I haven't watched Oppenheimer yet, so I will soon. It's 3 hours, and every time I look at it, I go, it's 3 hours. But that's probably the only movie that's there that I probably would care about. So, cause I feel like I'll probably like Oppenheimer when I do watch it. So
yeah, and the thing is like I don't think I'm going to watch this year at all. Like I just don't.
Oh, the Oscars
don't care. There's nothing there for me. I mean, the main reason last year, like I said, was that movie was I wanted to see Michelle Yeoh win. because
Jamie Lee Curtis won.
I've loved Michelle Yeoh since Super Cop days, and I want to see Ke Quan win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if Short Round won a fucking Oscar, yes, I'm here for it. So that's the fun part to me. But overall, like this year, nothing.
I'll also say it's the only award show besides the Game Awards that I watch. I don't watch the Grammys. I don't
Golden
watch
Globes. I don't care about anything else.
I don't watch any award show, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah. I have the other reason I don't like award shows in general, and like they all do this, is like, here's like there's 50 awards we're giving out. We're going to show 7 of them.
Yeah.
So we actually really don't give a shit about all these other people because we're going to do it during a commercial break. But
they've gotten better at the Oscars about that in recent years than in the past.
But
they've
still,
also cut a lot of those and put them on a different show.
Right, but that's dumb. Like it's about like they'd rather have somebody stand up there and tell shitty jokes for 5 minutes. Put an award in them.
Yeah,
I still think it's handled better than the Game Awards.
Well, Game Awards is far worse. Game Awards is a trailer show with a couple awards sprinkled in.
That he's going to shout because the band's playing too loud.
Real quick, before we go any further, you said Michelle Yeoh, and I just triggered in me. I watched that Netflix series, The Brother's Son.
Oh, I want to watch it too.
It is really good. And I was kind of disappointed. There's one thing I'm disappointed in, but it wasn't like a bad disappointment. It's just I wish I could have seen more of her fighting in it.
Yeah.
That's the only sad part about it. But as far as like the actual action and like what's happening in the storyline that develops, fantastic.
I'm glad to hear you say that too, because I read some stuff on it. It was kind of mixed. But I love her so much that I'll just watch it, so it doesn't really matter.
And like the other guy that's in there, not because she has like 2 sons, it's kind of the story and what it revolves around. The older son, I'm actually now interested to start looking in to see like if he's done anything else and like what else he's probably been in, because he is freaking fantastic in that one. Just figured I'd throw that out there.
Okay. No, that's good, because that means I'll watch it.
There you go.
Next email we have comes from Brian from Portland, Oregon. Hey guys, got a retro question for you, and sorry if this has been only recently discovered your podcast. What are some of your biggest regrets on passing up any retro game purchases, or just regrets with retro games in general? Thanks. Biggest regrets.
Mine's easy. Like I worked at Game Crazy when we actively took and sold retro stuff. I had access,
the retro stuff.
I had access to everything, and
you got a lot of good stuff out of those years for sure. But
I did.
I'm sure there are things that came through that you think,
I had access to a lot of stuff at good prices that I should have just bought and thought ahead and shuffled it away. We used to have Earthbound. We would sell for like $60. Chrono Trigger was like $60. Like you think if I would have just bought the copies that would have come in and held on to them, shit. But. I was just having access and not taking advantage of it. It's my biggest one.
The one I was thinking of the most that sticks out to me now is when you bought me the Castlevania Bloodlines and then had me open it to play it.
We forced you to open it. I know.
I should never open it because there's so many ways you can play that game now. But that's the one I can think of. I can't really think I don't regret trying to buy Dracula X off the GameStop because I was able to return.
Right.
Wasn't really a game.
Those were at least like calculated risks on our part. It's like, well, worst case scenario, we just return it. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that was us taking shots to get stuff.
I can't think of a major like retro game thing that I regret not.
Part of it is just like seeing something and thinking, man, I should have bought it, and then you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was at Half Price Books a couple years ago at this point, but they had Bomberman for Saturn, and I had like a 40% off coupon, and even though it was like $300 or whatever, I probably should have just done it because it was there and I had a discount on it, but I didn't. And of course, by the 2 days later, I'm like, I'm probably just gonna go do it. It's gone. Shit. Yeah. Like that would happen a lot.
I remember when I made the good choice of picking up when Half Price Books, and this would have, this would have been 10 years ago now, when they had the Game Boy GameCube player with the disc for 50, I think it was 40 or 50 bucks, and now that thing's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, that'll only get worse.
But it had the disc with the case, so
yeah,
like that original small goofy game.
Those are Japanese. Those are Japanese cases.
Yeah. But I can't think of like a big regret where I'm like,
same.
Yeah.
Just mine is I had better access than most people ever will have.
Yeah.
And I didn't take advantage of it, or I should have. And then I ended up. But again, like there are plenty of stuff that I got there cheap, so maybe it kind of balanced out in the long run.
Yeah, I got one. Okay. And it's not ever going back and asking at that damn Pizza Hut if they have that Castlevania in the basement before it became what it is now.
Before it became the Mexican place.
There's no way it's there anymore.
No, God, I've been in that basement at that place because that's where the bathrooms are. It's not there.
They used to have it back there just with the sheet draped over
I know.
it. Yeah, and I should one of those times I should have just.
Here's a regret. Here's a regret I have.
$50. I'll haul it myself.
Not trolling the Game Crazy for dumpster for the sign.
Yeah,
because
it'd be really cool to own.
That sign was coming down at some point, and I kept thinking,
you could put it next to your Funko Land.
I could put it next to my Funko Land sign.
Damn. Yeah.
But not trolling for that because it had to have come down at some point.
They had to have thrown it.
And I should have just been checking every day.
I think the only thing I could think of right now that we're talking about things like that is when I was a kid and the game store that I used to go to was going out of business and they were selling everything. And Earthbound had the big case, the big black box.
The big box.
And I never played it, never rented it, never did anything to it. But the case, like the box itself was like, it just kept gravitating to me. And I never pulled the trigger to get it.
Yeah.
That was probably the only thing that if I could tell my old self to do that, I'd be like, man, pick that up.
I mean, if I could go back, I would have bought every copy of it we had. Yeah, Game Crazy.
Game Crazy. Sam from Reno, Nevada. Hey guys, I was curious with speculation being off the rails now for Nintendo's next system. Do you think that maybe this is finally the time they go hard and actually have a system that can directly compete on the same level as the current gen Xbox and PlayStation? Or does Nintendo continue to be Nintendo? They continue to be Nintendo.
They continue to be Nintendo. They don't
need to compete because they already are winning in their own right.
Yes.
They made the best decision that they could with the Switch by combining both handheld and that was the smartest thing that they've done in a long time. Because now it's just one machine that does both.
They dominated handhelds forever, and when the Wii U came, their console thing was at the bottom. So how do we make this work better? Let's make the handheld work on the TV. Boom, done. And for everything you see about PlayStation sold this many PS5s and PS4, it's like Nintendo doesn't give a shit, dude. Like they make their own thing and they kill it. And we talked about it a long time where it's like a lot of times you own a Switch and a PlayStation or a Switch and an Xbox, but only people like us own all three. And even these days I don't.
It's very rare now to find someone that's just a true I only have a Switch.
Yeah.
Most people they'll have a Switch and then they'll have one or the other.
Right. And it's, you're locked into the Switch or the Nintendo for Nintendo. But anything that's on both, you typically don't play on there for various reasons. But they're going to continue to do their own thing. And, the Switch 2 historically could stumble because every other system they tend to make some kind of weird mistake, which bites you in the ass for a while. Sure. And then they'll figure it out later. But
and it's also why I keep thinking that this thing is more of a new Nintendo 3DS type situation because it gives them another 6-7 years to get to the point where they have to do something.
And the thing about it is, like, it's going to be much closer to what these systems are now. Like, you're going to get a 4K output to the TV.
You would have to now because that's the standard.
That's the standard. But so you'll get that, and you'll get a 1080p handheld. That's good enough because the screen is 8 inches big. The processing power will be better. Like memory will be. Everything about it's going to be better. So it'll fall in line with like the early days of PS5 and Xbox. It won't necessarily be where we are now or where these systems are when we get half versions in 2 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. If the Switch 2 is 4K to the TV, it's already a winner. Because that's the only thing it's really missing.
It is.
Nintendo games run properly. That's all you really want out of the system.
Yeah.
Except for Pokemon, but
Again,
That's why we got palworld.
yeah.
Well, you had people complain that Zelda wasn't 60 frames. That's really stopped anyone from buying that game.
No.
Not at all.
No
It would
one,
never.
No one said no. I'm not going to buy
It would never. And the thing about Switch 2 is all it has to do is repackage the same games again, and people buy them again. And I'm guilty of it too.
No, we are.
I'm excited for Paper Mario on that thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. He's from Davenport, Iowa. Hey guys, love the podcast. Love when you talk about retro stuff. And I don't know if this has been asked before, but when you were all growing up in the 90s, did you all have a favorite particular video store or local game store you like to visit? Or were you into the chains like Funkoland and Blockbuster? I can't remember if you've had this question before. We've talked about this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But specifically, I mean, for me, Blockbuster was always a constant thing for everybody because it was everywhere. But for me, where I live, and Daniel, you'll know this too because you're in the same area, there'd be Dollar Video.
That was a big one.
Which I use that a lot.
We didn't go there much.
Okay. That was kind of our number one, and then it would be either that or Blockbuster would be the two that we would go to. Where we lived there. And then, like I said, when we moved further down in the state, it became Family Video overnight. Mm-hmm. And then that just was the constant after that. My favorite of all time, though, and I've said this before, but where my grandma lived, local video store run by her neighbors, actually, like same block, a couple houses down, called Jay's Video. Amazing. I used to go and rent a bunch of old WCW, WWF VHS tapes.
Hell yeah.
But they had a game room that had just nothing. And that's the thing that kills me now is because my grandma passed in 2001, and I think that video store closed shortly after. So we weren't constantly going there. But man, now I think back and go, man, I really wish I would have been able to hit that place up when they were closing.
Yeah, that would have been dope.
The amount of PS1 and stuff they had was insane.
Yeah.
So that was always my favorite. It had the classic like wood paneling walls and shit. So amazing video store.
There was a place which is actually really close to where I live now called Our Video. You remember that place? It was next to 7-Eleven and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like a smaller video store, but like we would go there a lot. We would go to Blockbuster sometimes, but when Hollywood Video opened, we started going there a lot.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood Video was better than Blockbuster was. It just felt something about it.
It was better than Blockbuster.
Seemed better. It was bigger. So we used to go there a lot. Cheaper.
Blockbuster was always the more expensive one. Like they
had different rules. I want to say they had different rules about how long you could keep certain things, and I always felt like they were always out of stuff at Blockbuster, but Hollywood Video always had stuff. But even before
Friday
that,
night game you had to play.
Yeah, but even before that, like my neighborhood had a video store in it. It's called Community Video. And this is at a time when I was like 9, 10, 11, where I could walk to it. And like Kyle knows where it was. It was by the pizza place, which used to be Hoggie's Pizza. Community Video, and it was a comic book store. Was in the middle for a while. It's like cool. For like that age of a kid, that's like fucking incredible. A walking distance pizza place, comic book store, video rental place. Oh my god! And my buddy lived at the house across the street. We would literally just walk out his front door, across the street, boom, we're there. So that's where I got a lot of like Super Nintendo stuff, and like of course that disappeared. But yeah, Hollywood Video, and then obviously Hollywood Video became even more of a favorite because I worked there for 7 years, and having access to movies early, and then like games day one. I had free rental coupon. Like we weren't allowed to rent stuff for the first 2 weeks, like 2 weeks. Because we got free rentals, right? Yeah. So like they didn't want us to rent all of the new stuff, so they weren't making money off of it. So what did I do? Well, this drawer just has a whole shitload of free rental coupons in it. and I would just put it on my dad's account. And then, and the teenagers who work at Hollywood Video don't really give a shit.
They don't.
So it's just like, hey, that game comes out tomorrow. Yeah, put it in the bag. So, boop, come in. I got this game for a week. And then, maybe I just don't return it. And then maybe there's late fees on my dad's account. And then maybe those late fees disappear. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
you want to know an ultimate trade secret about video stores and late fees? They're not real. They mean nothing. They are arbitrary as fuck. I would see people that had I didn't work there, but I was behind the counter all the time. I could see people's accounts. It was a very similar system to ours. You'd see people with late fees of $80, $90, $100. So then the rule of that is you cannot rent until you pay this. So some people would just give up and leave. And they think about collections. That's not real. They would call you and you'd just be like, I'm not paying you. What are you going to do about it? But the thing is late fees were a joke because you'd have $100 in late fees. The person behind the counter would be like, okay, you know what? If you pay half, I'll take care of it. Pay half, erase the rest. Because you know how you erase late fees on that account? 2 buttons on a keyboard.
I was about to say.
It's gone.
I got a funny story about that.
Yeah, please do.
Yep.
So, Family Video. Maybe it probably is different between chains. Family Video. After I moved back from living in Michigan, and then went back up there and we visited one time. And me being a punk ass teenager.
Hell yeah.
Told my buddy, I was like, let's go rent some games from this Family Video that I used to go to under the account. And then I was just like, don't have to worry about returning those for a while because who cares? What are they going to do? I don't live here anymore. Yeah. They don't know who you are, right? And I want to say one of the games was Hunter the Reckoning. I don't remember what the other one. There was 2 games. And I had forgotten years prior, I had rented an Xbox system from them.
Oh.
So they have parents' credit card on file.
Yeah, because you had to put down a deposit in the amount of the system to be able to get it.
So after 60, 70 days or so, they just charge my parents' card for these 2 games.
They could if you had a card on file.
And so then then my parents were like, "Why are we getting this charge from Family Video?" Then it became a big thing, and then found out, and I had to pay for that.
Yeah.
Because that was my fuck up. But I didn't, as being a punk ass teenager, I didn't think any better.
No.
So
if you had a card on file, that was possible. But from what I
if there was no card on file, that would never.
It never would happen because you would just pay cash, to rent something.
But I didn't think of that, as a kid.
But yeah, so there were ways around the system to rent stuff and out. So I was just a huge. And then obviously I got to abuse the system when they would, for a long time. This is a great abuse of the system for Game Crazy people. If anybody else out there ever worked there and remembers this, sometimes, or how it was supposed to work and how it should have worked, and it eventually did, is they would, when they were done renting games, they would transfer them to us, and then we would sell them. Makes sense, sure. Right? We're in the store. Sense. For a long time, they would just move them to PV and sell them in Hollywood Video.
Okay.
They would sell movies and stuff. Sometimes those prices would be oddly low. And sometimes I would buy multiple copies of oddly low video games.
And then trade.
And then have an acquaintance of mine trade these in.
There you go.
Because they finally caught on when something new got moved to PV on the Hollywood side and got marked to $10 when it traded for $25. And we told the guy, I even asked the manager at the time, his name was Tim, he was a dumbass, and he lived in a different state and drove here to work, which is nuts. But they considered him a golden child because his previously viewed sales were so good on movies. How was that possible?
Sure.
Because he marked everything down to $10. And he would just move shit. So whenever it was PV day, we'd just be like, Tim, what's moving to PV? Oh, these stuff? I want all of it. Okay. That was the scam. And then finally they caught on to that and ended the scam. But Game Crazy was a world of scams. I've got plenty of other ones I could talk about later.
You reminded me of when I did the thing for our buddy Ross when I worked at Target when I was on my way out. And it was Pro Evolution Soccer 2008. And he's just like, it's your last week. Just sell it to me for half off. Who cares? What are they going to do? Fire you? I already put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't, do that.
And then what I ended up doing, because we used to do this with strategy guides all the time, is we'd rip the back of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you rip the back of them, then you can mark them down like absurdly low. So I couldn't tell you how many strategy guides at the time I got that way, but we went in the back and like dropped that case of that game so that it like cracked slightly, and then sold it for like, what did I sell it to him for? I mean, we're talking this game just came out, so it would have been like a $50 6-hour Xbox game. Probably like 25 or something. And then all I had to do, because I knew the right person to say that approved it, they come out like, the security guy comes bumbling out like 10 minutes later. It's like, oh, did you sell this game? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, who would sign off them? Like, oh, Pete did. Oh, okay, that's all right. Nothing was ever said about it again. So.
Like, well, and the other thing about like this is, we're getting a little off topic, but like Game Crazy, this isn't really a scam, but this is something that was just kind of like a thing that existed. Was nobody checked on anything I ever did in the computer, ever. You always think like, maybe this will be the one time like I do something weird and it'll flag something. Never happened. And the final thing that taught me that they would never check was one time some guy was buying a DS, right? It's like they've been out for like 2 weeks, and they were like, what were they, $200? I don't even remember.
I want to say they were $200.
So, but the guy had like 11 gift cards that all had weird amounts of money on them. Okay, sure. It happens if he trades, whatever. It happens, right?
Yeah, it happens.
What nobody knew, and because it doesn't come up a lot, is when you after you ring in a certain amount of gift cards, and I'm pretty sure it was 10 because I tested it again later, the thing would crash.
Okay.
But it would crash the transaction. The transaction would disappear, but it would wipe the gift cards. So all of this money is gone now. It does not exist anymore.
Oh.
And Game Crazy was pretty rudimentary, so there was no way to like put it back on or like verify this because they all just said 0 now. Luckily, because he had so many of them, I had scanned them and written down what was on each one.
Oh. So
I figured out what the total was. It was like $150 by the time we got through this. And I'm like, well, the only thing I can think of to do, because of course I tried calling my boss, it didn't answer. I'm just going to mark this system down $150.
Yeah.
And take all the gift cards, rubber band everything together, and throw it in the safe. And that way, if anybody comes at me and be like, this is what happened. Nobody said a fucking word. I marked down a brand new system
for $150
in the
75% off.
Manual override, -150. Sold them the system for $50. Guy's happy, he leaves. Never said a word. And I was like, you could commit murder in this store and no one would know. It was crazy. So like obviously other thing would creep up based off of that, but like that place was GameStop's bad, but at least the computer tends to work. Game Crazy was fucking Wild West. The other major computer problem, and I'll stop after this. We used to have to receive things by hand, and by hand I mean when we first opened, I would have to type in PV-NIN-
Oh, that sucks. Yeah.
So we got this whole fucking box from another store of like cartridge games, and I'm sitting there. My job this day is to type in everything.
That sucks.
Nobody tells me, hey, if you go to line 201, it erases everything. What? No one told me this? Well, nobody knew. Holy shit, dude. I lost like an hour's worth of work of typing. But just games like one at a time. That's how fucked up the systems ran on like early DOS. They were fucking nightmares.
The other cool video story I thought about when we were sitting here, when I lived in the southern part of the state, it was a grocery store. The chain still exists. It's called Chinooks.
Okay.
Remember that grocery store? They had a video store inside, like an actual like video rental store.
Kind of like Woodman's? Remember what Woodman's had?
Kind of like Woodman's did, yeah. I remember renting Conker's Pit for a day.
Oh, shit.
Ooh. Think about that. So, and this would have been early 2000s because it was around the time where like it was free PS2, but it was that era where Dreamcast was in between PS1 and PS2 and competed with both. So it was in that era. But yeah, that was another interesting one just because it was in a grocery store, like it was a physical store you could go in and rent stuff. So.
I miss video stores so much.
Yes, I do.
You got to build that one in your basement, Kyle. If you build it, I'll help you start stocking VHS tapes, man. I'll come work.
There you go.
Which means I hang out behind the counter, put an old movie in on a VHS, and eat some candy.
I found some of my VHS tapes.
Ooh.
Do you like it still has the price on there? $2.
Love it.
That's good. Because we're doing the shelves in here, so I've been opening those boxes, which have been sitting here since we moved. So 2.5 years now. So almost 3 actually. But yeah, I found some of those VHS tapes in there, and I laughed when I found them. So
That's great.
That basement's a huge project
Well,
some point. Michael from Redacted. This is going to be a good one that you're going to enjoy.
The banger, yeah.
Hey dudes, GameStop manager here. I'm curious, back in the day when you worked at GameStop, did you have any problems with getting any absolute shit RSPs? Lately, they've been somehow worse than they were before, with it seemingly being like people are just throwing shit in a box, throwing a single piece of tape on the box, and throwing it at the UPS guy to ship out. It's insane. I've had to shrink out so many broken items, and some things I've straight up refused to accept because they've been so bad. Also, while I'm on the subject, RSPs are a fucking joke, right? I've been here 7 years, and there's got to be a better way to do this, right? Thanks for reading my rant. RSPs. Why don't you explain what the RSP is?
Okay,
first?
so an RSP is. It occurs to me that I think we have talked about these before because I'm trying to remember.
Do you know what it stands for? I can't remember what it stands for.
Something stock balance, retail stock balance, something like that.
Maybe.
It's been a long time, and to be fair, the terminology never mattered because they were just RSPs. So RSPs are every week you would get
a list
of items to ship to stores, and it was the company's way of balancing stock between stores, but not having it go through the warehouse and stuff, which in theory is more efficient because you don't have to ship it twice, right? It goes one way. Here's the problem. Stores have different standards for what they'll take and what they deem acceptable. And it is a crapshoot. It is unbelievable. Now, our store,
we have pretty high
standards. I would look for reasons to take things defective because if I'm not going to buy it, then nobody's going to buy it.
Exactly.
Goodbye. So for a long time, RSPs were just kind of, here's the list. Sometimes it'd be new games, sometimes it'd be systems, sometimes it would be used games. Most of the time, used games. Here's the list. You have 5 in stock, ship 4 to this store. You have 3 in stock, ship 2 to this store. But sometimes it would be like, you have 1, ship 1. You have 8, ship 8. So you're telling me that this store is going to sell 8 of these, but I'm not going to sell any. So you're going to take all of them? That's where like the logic didn't come into play at this place.
Well, like I can remember there'd be times too where it's like, hey, we had this week this specific game is selling really well.
Yeah.
But now you want me to ship out all my copies of it to a different store, and we just end up deleting that item out of the RSP because no, we're not going to do that.
So for a long time there weren't any negatives to not doing them correctly.
Yeah.
You might get like talked to if you showed up on a report X amount of times, but it was the kind of thing where if I feel like we're going to sell it, I'm not sending it. If it's a $55 used game I got yesterday, I'm not sending it. Like
I can tell you what that big title was, and it was Skeet.
Just Cause 2.
Just Cause 2 or
Payday 2.
Yeah.
There were certain games where it's just like, you're crazy if you think I'm sending this anywhere.
Yeah. No, never.
Because, run the store like it's your business, but do what we tell you to do. So for a long time, no punishments. Then eventually, enough people complained where there became kind of like a checks and balance system. Because so how it would work is you get in a box, you'd have to take everything out, sort it, because in theory it should be packed a certain way, and they very rarely are. You'd sort it, you'd check everything, and then you would accept it into the system. And sometimes people wouldn't send you stuff, or sometimes stuff would be damaged, or it'd be the wrong thing. Multiple, and like sometimes it's one error in a box, okay. But eventually there became a thing where like there was a survey you got to fill out about how good was the box. Yeah. And I would say, how many times would you say a box was just bad? 20%, 25%? Yeah, you get
every week there was at least one.
You get multiple RSPs from different stores, and every week you're right. You'd probably get one that was just a complete shit show.
You just question
if anyone actually works at this store.
Yeah.
But I was an asshole on these reviews. Huge.
I remember you had to call somebody about a system.
There were stores. I would call the store and be like,
yeah,
you were supposed to send me 8 of these. There's none in this box. Well, I don't know anything about that. Go check your quantity, count it, and if you have 8 extra, you probably didn't send it. Sorry. You need to send
the one I remember specifically was a system where like they didn't send one of the cables or something.
Probably.
But it wasn't one system. It was like every system is sent. It was one of those like, here's 5 360s, but none of them had HDMI cables. And it's like, well, I'm not gonna like. I remember you had to call the guy. I remember the guy was an ass about it. It's like, I can't sell these. Like,
yeah, these are not
missing
complete.
Part of the system.
I'm not going to receive.
How
them.
were these traded in?
I'll tell them I won't receive them. And then, because remember, if whatever you received was what it was. So if you sent something and they received it wrong, so like, and you would get the reports back too, so people could see me being an ass. Like that was the best part. So you would get like, so like if you sent something, or like they would say that like we didn't send them 5 copies of this. And I'm like, bullshit, because I packed it. That's my number. Bullshit. And I go count my quantity, and my quantity's right. So instead of letting it sit there, I'd call up the store and be like, hey, man, this is the RSP you just accepted. You accepted it wrong. Well, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. Go count it. And then a lot of times they would come back and go, oh, yeah, you're right. I did make a mistake. Excellent. You need to email your district manager and admit to him that you made a mistake, because I'm going to email mine and tell him you did. Because that would hurt me. I got so fucking sick and tired.
It's a poor system that could be implemented.
There has to be a better way. There has to be a smarter way to do it. What it is, I don't have the energy within me to bother to figure that out anymore. But I'm sure at some time we probably came up with it. But I got so sick and tired of people sending RSPs bad. You don't want to do it, man. Just delete the RSP. Just delete it. Like, yeah, you get in trouble for that. Oops, my finger slipped. It happens. But like, I get that we do a lot, and I get that RSPs suck and they're a pain in the ass. Because sometimes it'd be like, ship 6 of these, and you realize you only have 3 cases. I got to make 3 cases now.
That was always the early, because it was always like Monday, Tuesday would be the RSP part of the week where you're sending them out, and then Thursday, Friday would be you're getting, your
sometimes
RSPs
you'd send stuff out on Thursday and get it like Monday. Which just fucks your week up, and then getting stuff on Tuesdays would fuck your week up because that's a new release day. They were such a pain in the ass.
It's a bad system.
It's not right. It should have been some kind of trigger where once you hit a certain amount of copies of something, maybe you just send that to the warehouse, and the warehouse collects all that stuff in 1 week, and the computer figures out where it goes the next week.
Remember when they finally stopped selling new copies of Skate 3 and it jumped $20?
Yeah, they would find any excuse
because we controlled the price.
The price. No more new copies.
It was a $20 new game that we would sell out of every week without question.
Right. And the used copy could only be $17.99. There was only a certain number it could be.
The minute that was no longer a thing, $37.99. Yeah.
There would be times where used games would get to the price where they were more expensive than a game was when it was new, because it sold well. We were never getting it new again, and all that kind of shit. But then again, it would be the kind of thing where, send all those out. You're crazy. I'm not doing it. Send out your top selling games. No.
It's sometimes it'd be like, well, we'd send like 1.
Right.
But we would never send out all.
Well, and it would ask for new games too. Be like, you have 5 of these, send 4. No, because that game came out.
This weird RPG that people want. Yeah. I'm not going to send that out. Right.
Well, the thing is like, so maybe it wasn't super weird when we worked there, but it's now 7 years later. There's an emphasis on that store about buy it on the website and the store will fulfill your order.
Yeah.
Why do RSPs exist anymore? Isn't it more cost effective to push web sales and get the sale than to do that? My Tekken came from a store, for Christ's sake.
Oh, whatever the last thing I bought from the website.
I just accept that now, and that's fine. But like, It didn't even come from the distribution center. They wasted money to send that to a store to send it to me.
It was a sealed copy, right?
Yeah, it fucking better have been because it came out today.
If it was a gutted copy,
but they sent that to a store to send to me.
Yeah.
It's like their system just doesn't make any sense with like where things go and where they come from. Like you can't send those out from the distribution center day one and then after a week or 2 days send them out to store. It's bizarre. RSPs fucking suck, and it's because it also got to a point where like if you didn't pack it in a garbage bag in a box, the garbage bag taped shut, 2 copies of the form in the box, you keep one, you tape it, you put the thing on the outside, the box is in good shape, you tape up the whole, like it was like 9
what ended
things.
up happening to that binder that had all those? Probably just threw it out at the end, right?
Oh,
remember we had to put that paperwork in the binder? Yeah, I just threw it out.
Paperwork
there was no reason for it.
Was a fuck show.
I'm sure it was just all tossed.
You know, I might have told you about it, but you never would have had to have seen it or anything. Did you know that in my desk in the back, I had those 2 drawers? There was a legitimate, proper way to file the things that go in those drawers.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
There's a fucking index sheet that you had to print. You had to folder number 1 is this. Folder 2 is this. You got to rotate these things every 30 days. So like once every 3 months, I'd have to go back there for like an hour and rotate all this shit out.
I do remember
throw this shit out. But the thing is like, let me ask you this. Let's say there were 5,000 stores that existed when I worked there.
That number's probably accurate.
Sure. How many people did the paperwork in their desk properly?
Very low number.
Right. But I had to because we had an LP dude in the fucking store.
Had to. And they would look at that stuff.
They would. Well, because again, we want a reason to fire you. You don't do paperwork right. You're fired. How many fucking binders do we have to have up at the front? TOH binder, cat count binder, inventory binder.
Like 4 or 5 easily.
Time cards, performance binder. You have to sign off on this because you didn't hit 98% reserves, Kyle. Sorry. Sign it. Like the amount of paperwork in that place is fucking nuts. It made far more sense. Remember when we had game planners and everything was just in the game planner? Yeah. And it was really like, again, that game planner was dumb too because it'd be like, write down your sales throughout the day. I have a computer that adds those numbers for me. Thank you very much.
Why am I rewriting those down?
Why am I writing those down?
I remember that.
You can check those in real time. This is a book you might look at 2 months ago. Yeah. The book made sense when it was like tasks, things to do for the day, sign off, sign on. I missed the book. When they got rid of the book, I missed the book because it was easier to track if people actually fucking did stuff.
Yeah.
The company just makes – I get that it costs money to print those books. It also costs money for me to print 30 sheets a fucking day, keeping track of everything.
For those labels.
For label, like, oh, my God. Remember what would happen if you, like, received a bunch of shit, but you didn't change the labels when we had yellow and white labels? And you'd be like, fuck, because you just printed the whole wrong color.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, these aren't used. These are all new, but they're in used yellow label.
Price changes. Here's your 600 price changes Wednesday morning. Have a good one.
Awful. Yeah, it would have been Wednesday.
Walk around. Or that's the other thing you get, like when you got.
And you never knew.
You never knew.
You would never know if it was.
They would do it like a. At a certain point, they would do like when they do like a forecast. They'd be like, there was going to be this many.
But it was never.
Accurate.
No, and that's like you'd go home Tuesday night and go, oh, it won't be so bad tomorrow. You come in the next day thinking there'd be like, maybe 30, 40.
Well, that's why we got to a point where it's like the closer would wait, rip them off, and then we would separate them. Remember, we'd be like, here's
on a Tuesday night.
Here's new ones, here's used ones. Put them like that. Try to help people out, but like that's another thing that just reminded me about RSBs, getting product in. So like cases would be cracked. I got to replace the case. They didn't put cover art in. I got to make cover art. The disc is jacked. It only has a sleeve, so there is no case. They sent me a case, but it's priced wrong. They sent me a case, but there's 2 different prices on it. They sent me an Xbox game, but it's in a Wii case. It's just
how about it's a 2-disc game, but they just threw the second disc in there because it's not really a 2-disc case.
It's just the amount of things that. It is astonishing. It's astonishing how we talk about it like the job sucked and I hated it, but I did like the place for a long time.
How many times do we get a used copy of Lost Odyssey, which is a 4-disc game,
missing a disc?
And it would just be in
it would be missing a disc, or it'd be in a case that could not handle 4 discs.
Yeah, because they don't make the time to do it.
No, they don't.
You're lucky you got a case. Ugh, RSPs. That's a trigger word.
Trigger word. Oh. Final 2 emails we got. Brendan from Berwyn, Nebraska. Hey guys, this question is likely more for Kyle, but I'm curious if you are aware of actor Ellen Richson from Reacher, who's hard campaigning to be DCU's Batman, so James Gunn's Batman. Mm-hmm. Do you think he would make a good Batman? Thanks. So, I just started watching Reacher, and I realized when I started watching Reacher, we saw this dude briefly in Fast 10.
Yes.
He was the guy that was explaining to Brie Larson. Remember, he made the fucking barbecue joke, which was hilarious. So I didn't really know much about this guy, and I started I watched my buddy's been bothering me, like, you should watch Reacher, it's really good. And then I watched the first episode, and then he sent me some clip of Reacher where he puts down this dog abuser guy, and I showed that to my girlfriend, and she's hard I want to watch it. So we watched the first episode, but I will say just from watching that first episode, hell yeah, this dude can play. He is physically capable of doing it. The way this dude puts people down on that Reacher show is incredible.
Yeah,
it's like a throwback to those 90s action movies. This dude is badass. So, yeah, if this dude wants to play Batman, I'm for it.
My only question to you would be, how old is he?
Well, again, remember, DCU or James Gunn's Batman, he wants the guy to be a little bit older because they're going to have Damian play him.
Okay.
So, he's the right age. He's he's probably 35.
Okay, 36. That's fine.
He's older than Pattinson. And remember, the Pattinson stuff is young Batman. So, you can do it, and that's fine.
Well, the thing is, you just want to make sure that he's available for 15 years.
From my understanding is he only gets Reacher going right now, but that show, I did not know how popular and successful that show is.
I've been hearing a lot about it
until recently, where it is. They just put out the numbers for the Nielsen ratings from last year, and that is the top show.
Weird.
And that show's second season only ran from this past December. So think about that. That's insane.
Wow.
I'll say the first episode was fantastic, so we're gonna watch more of it. So. But that dude, he seems pretty legit. I'm down for it. So, final email we got comes from Curtis from Appleton, Wisconsin. Hi guys, I'm curious how bad the damage is going to be on Rocksteady Studios after Suicide Squad is said and done. Do you think that the studio is able to crawl out of the ashes of this already seemingly dead on arrival game, or do you think that this game sinks the studio completely? Thanks. I will remind you. Suicide Squad is out next Friday.
That's fucking weird.
After 9 years, Suicide Squad will finally release next week. Honestly, and I hate to say it, but I do think this game could easily sink the studio.
I don't think it will, if only because...
You don't think it will?
Think about this. It's still riding on Batman. Yeah. People still believe in it because Batman came out a fucking long time ago, dude.
So do you think it's one of those games from back when we were working where a bunch of people will buy it day one and then trade it in right away because they don't know what it is?
I think there are a lot of people that don't know what it is, for sure.
Okay.
That's going to hurt digital people more than physical people.
Yes, it is.
Because they're going to see, it's the Justice League. And, obviously they release surprise Jokers in the game.
It's the next Arkham game.
How weird Jokers in that game.
Well,
oh my God. Couldn't believe it. I think the game does fine. I think it
actually does. Okay.
I think it tapers off pretty fast.
Avengers style.
It's DC's Avengers. They have yet to prove to me that it's not. Have you seen some of the screenshots from this game where the numbers? I
saw the one you sent me with the numbers, which I couldn't tell you what's happening.
It just seems like it's that game. And if that's all it is, and we're getting, thank God that the Battle Pass is cosmetics only. The extra content is included. Yeah. But guess what? Oh, shit. Avengers did the same thing. It's not anything different. I don't get it. I think my hope is that, I don't want to say I hope that it tanks. But I can tell you that I'm not interested. And
my hope is that they go back and do something more interesting. Superman's logical. It would make sense now, right?
Make the game
for them to make a Superman game.
Everyone thought you were making. Make that game. That's the game people want.
It would make sense to do that when we're rebooting Superman.
Who's making the Wonder Woman game? Does that game still exist?
It is a Warner Brothers game, but it's one of the sub Warner Brothers studios. I don't remember which one.
They're not
Montreal.
Oh boy,
I don't think it's Montreal, but
Wonder Woman
they have
Origins?
another sub studio.
But
no, because it can't be Montreal because they just made Gotham Knights.
Oh, you're right.
So.
But yeah, I mean, make the Superman game.
Which this game seems like it's worse than Gotham Knights in terms of what it's doing.
I don't know. I think they're different games, but I think they're both on the same level of bad and no one cares. Because
let me pose this question: when it's all said and done, what game do you think does better by the end of February? This or Skull and Bones, which I'll also remind you is out 2 weeks after this.
I don't know.
And they just put out a roadmap for a full year of content for Skull.
Here's what I'd say. Between the two, I feel like Suicide Squad is a game.
Yeah, I can give you that. It's a game. It's just not the game.
I don't know. I still don't know what Skull and Bones.
Whereas Skull and Bones,
I just saw another thing yesterday. That's like, it seems like it's Assassin's Creed. Are you what?
I saw a thing yesterday where it's like, here's an hour of end game content. I'm like, what does that mean for this game though? Like, what's the end game?
What is the point?
Like, what are you doing?
They haven't said anything
in that game. Yeah, I don't know what that is, or I don't know how that's going to do at all. It could be a random thing that maybe gets an audience, kind of like a Sea of Thieves, but I don't know.
Maybe, but at least Sea of Thieves had charm.
Sea of Thieves rode the highs of having charm and being a rare game and having at least a decent framework to build upon.
Well, and it's silly and it's fun and dumb shit happens. Like
Skull and Bones doesn't
look like that. It looks like it's a hardcore pirate game.
Like, here's my pirate ship that is going to fuck your pirate ship up. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Sea of Thieves, it's like shoot yourself out of the cannon and then realize that, oops, the ship's just fucking floating away.
Oops. Oh, this shark just ate me. I'm respawning on this island.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Suicide Squad, I feel like at least there's a complete game there with objectives and goals to do that I'm aware of.
Zero hype for the game.
Neither game has hype.
But again, my other argument for that is you had your window of opportunity to put this game out, which was a 6-month window from when we got the good Suicide Squad movie and that Peacemaker show.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was your 6-month window. And they bombed that because they kept delaying the game.
All right.
Then obviously we got a year delay. This literally was, remember, this game is going to come out last May.
Yes. And you and I were like, well, maybe we're in. And then now it's just
it was this time last year when they were like, here's what the game actually is. Oh
no. Objective based.
Oh, no.
All right, real quick. Lightning round. Who are the other 3 characters?
Oh, in the Suicide Squad?
There's 3 more.
Captain Boomerang.
No.
No.
Oh. They're going to make 3 more characters.
Oh.
Joker and 3 more. I think Peacemaker would be a good one.
Yeah.
If you can get John Cena, which he would.
He would. He doesn't give a shit. And he's
doing it for fucking
WB. He's in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I think Peacemaker is a good one.
That makes sense. Polka Dot.
That would be a great one.
That would be cool.
Because they could do some really fun shit with that. Ratcatcher would be good too, I think. I think you pull from the movie. Like, you try to pull them from the movie because the movie was good.
Absolutely.
Like,
who is Nathan Fillion's character?
What's his name? Something
separates
DK.
His body.
What's his name?
Yeah.
You can take his arms off.
You could do him.
I think that would be more like he's a cameo guy that shows up in a mission or something.
Okay.
I think
Polka Dot Man makes the most sense because you could do something crazy with him.
He would be fun.
And it would work.
Peacemaker would be cool.
If I could see numbers everywhere, I could see polka dots everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. What about
Weasel? Weasel, I think, is another one of those things where
cameo.
That's a cameo mission where like Weasel and Nathan Fillion's character.
Nathan Fillion's character. There.
I mean, other obvious answers would be like Rick Flag, but I don't think they'd do that.
Yeah.
Deadshot would maybe work. But Polka Dot Man, that's a good one. That would be fun.
I can see.
Who else was in the first one? I never saw it.
The very first
El
one?
Diablo?
It was-
I was about to say El Diablo.
El Diablo, what's
Enchantress?
the,
Yeah.
they did what's his name, but he died right away. I can't think of his character's name now. They literally killed him like in the first 30 seconds they dropped that team because that was the joke.
Okay.
What was his dumb name? It wasn't like Noose, but it was something to do with.
I don't remember.
Literally,
I never saw
they
it.
dropped those people off and he fucking died.
Well, that's how the second one opens up. They all just
Killer
fucking
Croc
die.
Was in the
Killer
first
Croc's a good one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe we check
not a
in.
great version of Killer.
Maybe we check in when every character's out and the game's $30.
So Black Friday 2024.
Shit. That game might be turned off by Black Friday 2024.
I
Remember,
don't think
Marvel's.
it'll be turned off that fast, but I think all this content will be out.
Well, yeah. Avengers made it what, a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
I would say that it would be the time for you and I to check into it at a $20 price range. Because I guarantee you this game will be the $20 to $30 range by Black
Well, because at that point they're hoping to pull people in just to play it and boost the numbers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially since it's coming.
Yeah. Weird time for it to come out.
I think if they're smart, and they probably already are having those conversations, is to make the Super.
There's groundwork in place to do something else for sure.
And if they're hard now, because I remember when they originally announced James Gunn taking over all this stuff, that was the big thing of they want to have games that tie into these movies. So you get that new guy to play Superman in the game too.
Well, that's the hope, right?
Yeah. So that would make sense. So I think that would be the smartest thing for them. They're not going to touch. They're not going to make it.
I don't think Rocksteady goes away.
Need to.
The pedigree is enough to keep them alive one more time. But if the next thing fucking fails again, that's when you see like we fired 50 people and we're restructuring.
I just sure hope that it doesn't take 9 years to make a Superman.
God, fuck, it might.
9 years. Well, and again, like we bitch about the live service stuff in this game, but you have to remember 9 years ago that was the big thing,
right?
When they originally probably pitched this, Destiny was the huge thing. So everybody wanted to do live service. So. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Podcast 572. As always, you can send your emails to podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.